Hey, and welcome back to part 2 of What If Deku Ate All Types of Devil Fruits. Let's not waste any time and jump right in, but before we do, please like and subscribe to help motivate me to keep creating content for you. Thank you. Chapter 10. En went for a dashing slice at Hilda with his scythe blades, only for her to grab him by the wrist and use a judo throw to fling him to the ground. I can see his moves before he makes them. Sense how he's going to attack. Is this a hidden facet of One for All? Hilda wondered inside her head. No, it's my quirk in action. Hilda saw the shadowy specter of a man with stark white hair and a lightning bolt-shaped scar appear beside her. My name is Hikage Shinomori, I was the fourth holder of One for All. The man explained. It seems this battle's setup helped trigger the necessary means for you to awaken the use of my quirk. Wait, I remember Shun talking to you guys. Hilda realized. So you really are helping me out? Yes, we're with you every step of the way. Hikage nodded. Good luck out there. Hilda smiled as Hikage vanished, time resuming to a normal pace as En recovered. The green-haired young man turned his legs into bulky stompers and slammed them down on the ground, creating a tremor that staggered Hilda, even with her blubbery bulk supporting her. Metagross legs. And now, his hands turned into be stinger-like appendages. Beedrill stingers. As Hilda and En continued to square off, Yamato made his way to where the bomb room was located. His transformed state also heightened his senses, allowing him to pinpoint where Mukuro was waiting for him. Thinking of stepping up to me? The stoic girl asked as she summoned a chainsaw sword in hand. Come at me, then. Yamato bared his sharpened canines as he readied his iron club before lunging forward, Mukuro throwing up her chainsword to block the attack as it made contact, her knees almost buckling when she was hit with a shockwave of Conqueror's Haki. Yamato grinned ferally, flames, ice, and lightning dancing around him as Mukuro summoned a shotgun, which she used to blast the son of Kaido's midsection and send him flying back. Back with Hilda and En, the two were panting as they had overexerted a lot of their energy slugging it out. En had a bit of blood dribbling down his lip while Hilda, thanks to her original quirk, was quickly healing but still felt quite winded. You know, you're really good. Hilda smiled. But what say we finish this up? En smiled as lightning sparked around him, red circles forming on his cheeks as he got down on all fours, a lightning bolt-shaped tail springing from his backside as he took a running start and then transformed into a literal bolt of electricity, Hilda slamming her legs like a sumo wrestler and pulling her fist back. Volt tackle. Kanto smash. The shockwave threw Yamato and Mukuro off of their own battle, the two warriors nearly losing balance while also feeling the haki from their partners. Yamato smirked while Mukuro took a moment to catch her breath. Unfortunately, that was the exact moment Yamato needed to bypass her, creating a magical ink slash reminiscent of a sword cut with his arm to strike her with the force of a blade. The soldier girl gasped in pain before falling to her knees, unable to move as Yamato touched the weapon. Hero team wins. All Might announced. En and Hilda, who had been knocked away from each other due to the collision of their attacks, both smiled as Hilda hefted her body up and helped the boy to his feet. Good game. En smiled. You fight very well. The next match had Ben and Kyokajiru as the hero team and Denki Kaminari and Kobeni as the villain team. Kyoka used her quirk, Earphone Jack, which took the form of her specially shaped earlobes that looked like audio jacks which she could plug into any surface and listen through them. That's a hell of a quirk you got there. Ben smiled. Kyoka blushed, twirling her free ear jack with her finger. Thanks. I got it from my mom. She was content being in the music business, but I honestly always wanted to be a hero, you know? I can respect that. It pays to forge your own path in life sometimes. Ben nodded. What else can you do with it? Well, I can transfer the sound of my heartbeat through my jacks to damage anything they're plugged into. I can also use them as whips if I want to. Meanwhile, Kobeni was nervously holding her slingshot while shaking in her boots. It didn't help that Denki was trying to flirt with her. So, you want to grab a bite after school? Denki whispered, trying to be charming, which he might have been, if his partner was not such an easily scared sniper. Ah. She then unleashed a volley of her arsenal, trapping Denki in vines and roots. Ugh, dumbass, Kyoka sighed as she heard this going on. Ben meanwhile was chuckling. Kaminari, you idiot. Minoru shook their heads in annoyance. Hero team, wins? Next was Nia and Shoji as the hero team against Penny and Ellie as the villain team. After setting up their bomb room, Ellie formed a holographic blueprint and turned to Penny. Hey, cutie. Think you can provide some goods for me? Certainly, friend Ellie. Penny beamed. With my Buster arms, I have been able to copy the quirk factors of all my classmates. Penny's palms then glowed bright green as she placed them on the ground, creating various stone structures with the power gained from Kohaku. Configuration, Gaia. In the viewing room, the Seraphim looked a bit confused before Momo cleared her throat. Uda told me about Kohaku and her power, and considering my quirk is called Creation, it felt better for her to switch the name of her quirk to Gaia, to avoid confusion. Bakara nodded. Yes, no sense in having two powers with the same name, after all. Meanwhile, Shoji Mezzo and Nia were approaching the building as Shoji used his quirk, Dupli Arms, to form extra ears and take a listen through the halls. It wasn't just extra arms, his tentacles could form different exterior body parts, especially sensory organs. They're both in the hall on the 4th floor. I can hear Ellie building something, Shoji said. What can you guess it is? Nia asked. Shoji listened in. It seems to be a sentry. Best use caution. Alright, you climb up the exterior and I'll go ahead and see if I can lure Penny out. Shoji nodded and formed extra hands and started climbing the building. Nia headed inside and readied a pair of chakrams before noticing Penny flying in with a smile on her face. Hello, friend Nia. Are you ready to go plus ultra today? Nia smirked. Oh, you know it, sister. Penny's backpack opened up to reveal several swords connected to near invisible strings as she took a battle stance, Nia grinning as she readied her chakrams before both of them lunged at each other. The battle ended when Shoji made his way to the 4th floor and used his arms as a shield to block the rock shots that the sentry gun Ellie had made fired at him, using his sheer size to tear it down before pinning the rotund gal to the ground and capturing the weapon in the process as well. The next battle had Lilik and Tenya as the villain team and Kohaku and Uda as the hero team. Kohaku was still gushing at being paired with Uda, who appreciated that the Seraphim of Envy, while still acting quite fangirlish, wasn't acting as insane as most of her fans tended to be. Oh man, are you gonna use your quirk? I love seeing it, Kohaku said. Uda giggled. Her quirk, Music Land, allowed her to create a spatial field over her surroundings that allowed her to manipulate everything in it via her music for a variety of effects. It helped her put on truly extravagant spectacles during her idol shows, but the combat applications for it allowed her to gain a recommendation to UA. With a deep breath, the idol began to sing, her melodious voice ringing out throughout the whole building. Reach for my hand, I'll soar away into the dawn, oh, I wish I could stay. In the bomb room, Lilik and Tenya both got on guard as music staves flowed into the room and around them. Tenya quickly ducked when the stave stretched to try and entangle him before turning to Lilik. You must go ahead. I'll stay here and guard the weapon. The chubby girl nodded and made her way downstairs, dodging the bizarre effects Uda's music had on the building before finding her and Kohaku and readying her Klima tact. You're pretty fast on your feet, Uda noted. Thanks. I don't have a quirk, but people always say I make up for it with my approachable personality and people skills. Lucky you, there's not much room I can use my weapon, but my quirk is fair game. Kohaku grinned as she erected an earth wall to block Lilik off. Uda used the distraction to form an elevator with music staves as the construction point and used it to reach the top floor where Tenya was. Aha! I see you've arrived, hero, Tenya said, putting on his best villain voice. You may have surprised us with your pretty little songs, but you shall not get past me. Uda couldn't help but giggle impishly at just how ridiculous Tenya sounded before holding her finger out in a beckoning way and flicking it upward. Tenya had no way of anticipating his musical notes gathered underneath him and lifted him into the air before juggling him around. As he yelped in alarm as he tried to get off the ride, Uda walked up to the weapon and touched it, securing her and Kohaku the victory. So, what can you tell me about the ladies in your crew? Minoru asked as he and Makoto, the hero team, walked through the building in search of Milo and Sero, who were the villain team. Well, Kohaku and Sumiko are my sisters, so they're mostly off limits. Now, Hilda, that girl manages to make fat the new sexy, that's for sure. Well, so does Rosa as well, but that's beside the point. Yeah, I know. Fat girls are just as sexy as skinny girls. Minoru nodded in agreement. More people need to open their eyes to how beautiful the body is in all its forms. Amen to that, brother. Yo ho 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 tilde ... yo ho ho tilde. A chilling melodious voice sang through the halls as Minoru shivered fearfully, his eyes darting around while Makoto readied his sword, getting on guard. Heads up, Milo is here. And I am finishing it. Milo strolled past Makoto and Minoru as they sheathed their cane sword, Makoto's eyes widening as he realized what this meant. OSHI. 3 verse humming, arrow notch slash. A wave of pure cold struck Makoto and Minoru as they were left paralyzed, cold ice forming over them as they locked up, unable to move a muscle as Milo took out the capture tape. "Oh come on, what was the point of me setting up my trap?" Saruhanda complained, referring to the barricade he made over the bomb room with his quirk, tape. Yato and Fumikage Tokoyami, the hero team, entered the building as they prepared to search for Chikara and Ochako, who were the villain team. "What can you tell me about your brother?" Fumikage asked. "Well, he's small but he's definitely a powerhouse. Don't go underestimating him or the power of his meta ability, Disaster. A truly frightening power, what can it do?" Yato chuckled. "He inherited it from the guy he got his lineage factor from, Fairy King Harlequin. He's able to exercise complete control over life and death by altering and controlling matter at a molecular level. For example, he can turn a shallow scratch into a fatal wound, a minor poison into a lethal toxin, and a small benign growth into a cancerous tumor that can devour a body whole. It also gives him complete control over nature, allowing him to manipulate various flora, letting it flourish or perish in moments." "Revelry in the dark," Fumikage muttered. Before either boy could plan their next move, Chikara's spear suddenly came flying out of nowhere before it transformed into several small blue gimlet knives which started swarming Yato and covering him in cuts and stabbing him. "Geez, did you really have to do that?" Yato asked in disbelief at his brother. "Suck it up, you big baby. You can handle it," Chikara said as he came from around another corner. "Tokoyami, just go. Family feuds are best left between the relatives," Yato ordered as Fumikage nodded and dashed to where he could escape Chikara's gaze. "Status promotion," Chikara said, snapping his fingers as the cuts he delivered on Yato became worse. "Oh, you bastard." The Seraphim of Greed snapped before taking out his 3-section staff, despite the pain he was in. "Thank Horikoshi and Suzuki that I can regenerate." Not allowing his brother to get another move on him, Yato lunged with all the speed he could muster, but Chikara transformed his spear into a large 4-armed teddy bear that began blocking his attacks. However, Yato started flailing his staff around to make it back up. "You're certainly not gonna quit, that's for sure," Chikara sighed as he changed his weapon again, this time to a golden 2-pronged spear that pierced Yato's chest before he could react, causing him to turn to stone. "Oh, go eat a D." The Seraphim of Greed snapped before being completely encased in stone. Chikara grinned playfully. "All's fair in love and war, bro. Hero team wins." All Might announced as Chikara arched an eyebrow in confusion, only for Fumikage to come down while carrying a nauseous-looking Ochako with help from his quirk, Dark Shadow, which was a rare sentient symbiotic quirk that took the form of a shadowy bird monster. Uraka tried to disable me with her quirk, but Dark Shadow proved to be a perfect foil. Angry muffling was heard from the petrified Yato as Chikara sighed and snapped his fingers, causing the stone to shatter and free the Seraphim of Greed, who proceeded to angrily tackle his brother and begin beating him up. Koji Kauta watched in alarm as Shun had easily managed to catch Himiko with Invasion, the swordswoman currently stuck in a trance as the Seraphim of Lust then pointed behind the rock-headed boy. "Behind you." Koji yelped in panic and turned around, accidentally slapping Toru Hagakure across the face as the invisible girl fell over, whimpering in pain. The rock-headed boy panicked and immediately went to make sure she was okay, muttering out silent apologies over and over again as Shun just shook his head. "Dude, that power of yours is so manly." Eiichiro Kirishima gushed as Kazuya transformed into his sun form after taking off his glasses. "Yes, it's a very sunny day out." The Seraphim of Pride smiled as he looked at the clear blue sky decorated with fluffy clouds as he and his partner entered the building to confront Mifa and Ujiro. As soon as they stepped in, a veritable tsunami flew in to sweep them out of the building. However, Kazuya simply smirked as the water instantly burst into steam when it came into contact with him, Eiichiro wisely standing behind him to avoid getting swept off. "Thanks for the shower, Mifa, but I believe it won't be enough," Kazuya boasted. "This might." Much to Kazuya and Eijiro's surprise, Ujiro Meishirao leapt in from above, having ridden on the wave Mifa made to sneak attack the two. With a swipe of his tail, he sent a crescent blast of air at the two. "Holy crap, I recognize that. That's Rakushiki," Izuku exclaimed. "First perfected by my uncle, the leopard skin hero, Rob Lucy." Nia nodded. "Nice to see other people are learning it now." "Impressive," Kazuya said, catching the air blade with the palm of his hand, a small scratch forming on it that didn't hinder him in the slightest. "You have some grit to you." Ujiro huffed and took a stance, his body seeming to stiffen and harden as his tail poised itself before lunging at Kazuya. "Tekai Kempo," he shouted, striking with fierce blows from his limbs and tail as Kazuya blocked them with his arm before delivering a powerful punch that sent Ujiro flying back. Impressive, but still not enough against an opponent like me. Ujiro, who had managed to withstand some of the blows thanks to still having Tekai up, quickly moved again and delivered a powerful punch to Kazuya's stomach. Don Pyo Ro. Kazuya actually took a single step back, before grinning as he put a hand on Ujiro's shoulder, the tailed boy looking up at his larger opponent. Marvelous. I respect opponents who give it their all even against impossible odds. With a simple push, Kazuya sent Ujiro flying into the wall again. This time, the tailed boy was unconscious for sure. Meanwhile, Eiichiro had managed to find Mifa, who stood guard in front of the weapon as she took a fishman karate stance. Alright, this is gonna be so manly. The red-haired boy grinned as he used his quirk, hardening, to harden his arms to a rock-like texture. I admire your passion. Mifa smiled as she pulled her fist back. But can you withstand this? The Zora girl delivered a powerful straight punch. Eiichiro didn't notice the details, but the punch transmitted the force of the impact through the water in his body, which in turn meant it bypassed his quirk. The red-haired boy wheezed as even in his hardened state, he felt like he had gotten hit with a punch to the gut while unhardened. He almost fell to one knee before slowly stopping himself, clenching his fist and gritting his teeth. A real man never gives up. With all the strength he could muster, Eiichiro rushed forward and threw a hardened punch at Mifa, who blocked with her open palm before pulling off a swift roundhouse kick. 7,000 brick roundhouse kick. Eiichiro was sent plastered into the wall next to him. It was thanks to his quirk that he didn't suffer serious injuries as he fell over on his face, groaning in pain as Mifa walked over to him and tied him up before using her quirk, Wellspring, which allowed her to not only freely manipulate water, but also heal any kind of ailments and injuries, to heal him. Forgive me if I went too far, my friend. Sumiko was paired with Carrot as the hero team and Rosa was with Yuuga Aoyama as the villain team. Sumiko was navigating the way with her crystal ball while Carrot followed close behind. Whoa, magic is real? It's always been real, my dear. Quirks are just the genetic way to get superpowers, Sumiko giggled at Carrot's excited question. Speaking of which, what is your quirk? Well, aside from being a mink and being able to use Electro, I don't really have a quirk. Carrot admitted. I got by on determination to be a hero and represent my people, though. Glad to see so many people here are seeing that it isn't all about quirks, but about skill and hard work. Sumiko suddenly noticed a vision in her crystal ball and smirked, clicking her tongue as she placed her hand on the wall and morphed its cement structure to shoot out, creating a wall for Rosa to slam into face first in a comical manner that of Tom from Tom and Jerry. However, the big round girl was quick to adapt as she touched the wall and her skin turned into the same texture as the cement, turning her left hand into a hammer as she slammed her palm into it with a sneer. Oh, you're gonna pay for that. Rosa soon blasted apart the barrier between her and Sumiko and quickly noticed that she and Carrot had disappeared. However, Rosa's training paid off as she dodged a high leg drop kick. Oh, this is gonna be so much fun, Rosa giggled as she turned her body into wet cement and slithered around Sumiko to constrict around her, only for the Seraphim of Gluttony to turn into mist and snake out of her grasp. Meanwhile, Carrot was in the process of trying to sneak up on Yuuga, who mercifully was too preoccupied with admiring his dazzling costume. Elec Law. Yuuga had no time to react as Carrot struck him with an electrically charged fist, shocking him in his metal suit of knight armor as he fell over, twitching as the bunny mink giggled and playfully nibbled on his cheek before skipping over to the weapon and touching it, securing the victory for the hero team. Hey, Rebecca, what's your quirk, exactly? The frog-like Tsuyu Asui asked as she and the cyborg girl walked through the building together. My quirk, well, it's called technopathy. Back then, all it was good for was fixing up anything technology-based and making it run smoothly. But when the doc fixed me up, I was able to manipulate all the cybernetics that now compose my body. Rebecca smiled. Pretty dang sweet, right? Yeah, pretty sweet. Meanwhile, Momo was using her quirk, creation, which allowed her to make various objects from her body by transmuting her lipids. She was already creating a barricade on the door. Clever as usual, Momo. Her partner for the assignment, Bakara beamed. You take a breather, I can reinforce as well. Momo smiled. Reminds me of when we'd build forts together before. She started, then trailed off. Bakara set a glyph in place and then hugged Momo, who returned the embrace. I missed you so much. At least you weren't alone. Momo mused, then adopted a curious grin. How did you and your friends meet? Bakara laughed half-heartedly. Well, that is a long and complicated story. We have 2 minutes. Momo pointed out. Seeing she was right and wanting to get this over with, Bakara regaled her old friend. After my parents moved, I immersed myself in my training. It was hard, so much pressure on me when I was so skilled for my age. Momo nodded in understanding, having been through the same. And then, my teacher was attacked. I went after the culprit, of course, only to find she wasn't what I thought she was. And for some reason, that broke the proverbial camel's back. She looked down at her feet in shame before she continued. Himiko was passing by with her father and, seeing a lot of herself in me, she was the one to snap me out of it. With that story, Momo Yayorozu made a vow, she would pay Himiko back no matter what. We're only human, Bakara. She cooed to her friend, who smiled back. Sadly, the tender moment was cut off by a shout of Radical Beam. Suddenly, the barricade Momo made was blasted wide open as Rebecca came in, holding out both her hands in an oval-shaped gesture. Quite charming. Bakara muttered as she sent out a glyph underneath Rebecca in the style of a clock, freezing her in time. That was some fast thinking, Momo sighed as Bakara nodded only for the two to hear a ribbit as they looked and saw Tsuyu having grabbed the weapon. Well played. The final match was between Kirby and Rikido Sato as the hero team against Marco and Mina Ashido as the villain team. Mina was happily surfing on white acid she created with her quirk, which was conveniently named Acid. However, Kirby cleverly helped her and Rikido win the battle by simply swallowing the weapon and storing it in the infinite realm of her stomach dimension, allowing her and Rikido to draw out the fight until the time limit expired. With all the battles done, All Might and Nizu proudly nodded at how well all their students had performed. Great job today, students. You all showed great potential and there were no major injuries. Now we want all of you to remember what you learned and saw here today. Nizu smiled. And always remember these words and keep them in your hearts. Go beyond. Plus Ultra. All Might exclaimed as he bolted from the room to the cheers of Class 1A and the amusement of Class 1C. Even when no longer on a time limit, he always has to make a dramatic exit, huh? Izuku smiled. Milo scoffed. Oh please, we all know you're giving that a rating and comparing it to his other exits and entrances. Can you believe this shit? It says he's a teacher now. A gravelly sounding young man's voice said with barely concealed anger. In a seedy-looking bar, a boy who seemed to be about 20 years old was reading the newspaper regarding All Might taking up a job as a teacher at UA. A man in a bartender's uniform whose body appeared to be made of dark purple mist with gleaming yellow eyes was simply cleaning glasses as he listened to his ward speak. Hey, here's an idea. The young man smirked, showing chapped and scarred lips. What'll happen when the almighty symbol of peace gets taken off the server? We ha 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 ha. A masked and muscular man cackled. We'll make a hell of a first appearance as what? That is not up for us to decide. A tall brown-haired man with a targeting monocle noted as he cleaned his sniper rifle. Fate alone will decree whether that fool lives or dies. Though it never hurts to even up our chances. And that, Van Arguer, is why I've enlisted the services of this fellow. An electronic voice said as a newcomer entered the bar. Holy shit, you? Nice, a veteran legend. Elsewhere in Japan, a meeting was taking place between 5 of the most powerful men alive. While they weren't pro-heroes, crime lords, or politicians, they had enough knowledge and experience to rise to the top of the heroic Public Safety Committee. I can't believe we let this slip by. One of them, a rabbi-looking older man with a scar on the left side of his face noted. All Might becoming a teacher at UA is one thing, but these irksome new world children as well? How could you forget about the devil fruit being eaten by a mere boy? A bald, glasses-wearing man in a kimono growled at his college as he cleaned a katana. That was under your responsibilities. Hardly my fault if who's who lost it to Shanks. At least this Midoriya boy. Don't forget that the Dark King's grandson is also among them. The tallest man, with long white hair and a bushy beard, noted. I wonder how he and the Seraphim even got here. On the positive side, a stout gentleman with a large handlebar mustache and archipelago birthmark on his forehead noted. All Might is inspiring many recruits for the Navy and continues to be our beacon. Plus, while the Seraphim's departure from Egghead is unexpected, their attendance at UA along with the mink and the other non-human children is good for international and interracial relations. Moreover, the youngest man, tanned and blonde, cut in. We can take solace and ease in the fact that the devil fruit user wants to play by our rules and appears to be leading these newcomers. We can sleep easier knowing he's more like All Might than Roger was. I would not be so sure. The bald swordsman noted. The children interfered in the overhaul case and have cleaned up a beach. They have publicity. And never forget, Roger became a problem on accident and we're still cleaning up his mess. So, what's to be done? The scientist rabbi asked. But before they could continue their conversation, the wall of their room slid open. All 5 men got down to their knees in reverence and in stormed a tall being with a crown on their head. What is it you ask of us, Lord Emu? They all asked. The Devil Fruit Child, Izuku Midoriya, Chapter 11. Reporters never change, don't they? Bakara sighed. Set up something juicy and they circle it like vultures. Ben nodded. Trust me, you have no idea how many news outlets wanted to know my story when I started out as the quirk judge. At least they didn't find out your secret identity, Kohaku said. Well, I guess they kinda do know since you're training to be an official hero now. Not necessarily, Hilda noted. He's just a student. Until the sports festival. Rosa sheepishly added. The real problem was somehow the media found out All Might was teaching here. Shun pointed out. Yeah, I talked with my bro and he said he'd find the leak, Rebecca said. Amon told me she'd help find it too, Izuku added. He still had mixed feelings about Amon. Yes, she protected the center his family created and she was nothing but sweet around Kamiko, Eri, and the other children, smoking habit aside, but she was also one of the daughters of Charlotte Big Mom Lean Lean, the most powerful female villain alive. Plus, Amon was a fearsome fighter in her own right. Makoto said he'd at least lose a limb fighting her if they ever went serious. A realization that made the crew remember they had to grow stronger and soon. While the Mom Beast pirates were in their debt, they were still a crime family first and foremost, and that kind rarely stays in debt for long. What's All Might like as a teacher? Izuku Midoriya. Any inside news on the daycare's future? How does it feel being the luckiest students in Japan? But honestly, that would be preferable to these news hounds. Oh my gosh. It's Kamui Woods and Mount Lady making out. Chikara suddenly shouted as he pointed elsewhere, the reporters following his finger. Hey! Don't bring us into this. Mount Lady snapped as she tried to shoo the cameras away, a dazed Kamui Woods in her arms with his mask sprouting flowers. Huh. Didn't expect that. Chikara mused. Let's sneak by, friends, Penny said. Configuration, invisibility. A drone came out of Penny's backpack and created a special field that turned the 1C crew invisible as they snuck by the reporters, Izuku using the Calm fruit to make their presence. As they went through the gate, they could see Tenya keeping some of the reporters at bay, his long-winded speeches tiring them out and giving the students of Class 1A some much-needed peace. That, and Yamato scared them off with just a look. The hero students all managed to make it to class on time. Currently, Shota Aizawa, the Erasure hero, Eraserhead, was going over the results of the battle trials with his students after Nidzu made sure he wouldn't skim over any details. Then again, these students had managed to impress the normally strict underground hero, especially Kobe. I don't normally say this, but I was very impressed with what I saw of you all. However, he gave a glare toward Shoto. Well, almost all of you. Todoroki, you could have easily managed to get by with more success if you used both sides of your quirk. If you think you can just half-ass your way through this school, then you can kiss being a hero student goodbye. A brief flash of anger crossed the normally stoic-looking boy's eyes, but he said nothing, his face remaining composed. However, Aizawa was pretty good at reading people and narrowed his gaze before deciding to put it on the side for now. What is Todoroki's deal, anyway? Carrot asked N, her desk being right next to him. The green-haired boy shrugged. Beats me. At the recommendation exam, he kept to himself. Yurashi-kun from Class 1B tried to strike up a conversation but he just blew him off. Yeah, the guy thinks he's some sort of Prince Zuko with that attitude. All I see is a spoiled brat who thinks he can get what he wants, Yamato sneered, quiet enough for Shoto not to hear him. Oh, how he would come to regret thinking that. Students, it brings a tear to my eye at how magnificent you performed the other day in the battle trials. All Might proudly said. You worked well with your partners in Class 1A and managed to get by with minimal to no injuries. I'm honestly amazed that Bakugo didn't kill anybody, Himiko giggled. Screw off, Fangs. I can control myself. Kirby shushed Katsuki and messed with his hair, calming him down. There. Now that everyone has settled into the school year, it's time for us to begin an important lesson. Nidzu began, making the class tense in anticipation. We shall be picking a class president. Oh sweet. Makoto grinned. I nominate the captain. Oh yeah, definitely Izuku. Hilda smiled. He is our pirate captain, it makes the most sense. Kazuya nodded. I can get behind Izuku, Helena giggled. Upvote for Izu. Milo winked. We're with you all the way, Mifa said. Heck yeah. Rosa cheered. Don't I get a say in this? Izuku asked awkwardly. It was one thing to keep his crew in check, but an entire class? Nope, everyone said in unison. You all suck. Alright, and we need a vice president, Nidzu began. Ben. The whole class said, once more in unison. Wait, what? You're kinda shaping up to be the first mate of the crew. What with your particular set of skills? Nia smirked. Suck it up, ya baby. Alright, I guess I have no choice, Ben sighed. Izuku whimpered nervously. Me neither. So, you got appointed class president almost unanimously too, huh? Kobe asked as some of Class 1A had met up with Izuku's crew for lunch on the rooftop after getting their food at Lunch Rush's cafeteria. I ended up with the vice president role, Momo said. Though I didn't exactly appreciate that one of my votes came from Mineta. Bakara, picking up on this, glared at the grape-headed midget, who wisely kept his trap shut. I got voted vice president unanimously. Ben frowned. I mean, what part of me screams vice president anyway? Izuku has been our leader ever since we were training together, Sumiko said. It makes the most sense he'd be class president. I think I prefer to be called pirate captain. After all, we're more of a pirate crew if anything else. Izuku smiled bashfully. A pirate crew, like Goldie Roger? Tenya asked, getting nods. I see, most pirates are overseas criminals, but Roger and his crew were more like vigilantes many years ago until they eventually were recognized as full-fledged heroes by the public. Yeah, Roger was pretty cool back in the day. Some of my friends from my old school admire him. Lilik smiled. Ochako then realized something. Hey, Izuku, your family was wealthy enough to help get my family out of the red zone and build that super cool amusement place. How did you get it? Well, we kinda busted a Yakuza group who were torturing a little girl, Izuku explained. It was only by complete chance we stumbled across her. We made the bastard who hurt her pay, Ben growled. And trust me, he won't be walking anywhere anytime soon. Izuku's family got privately rewarded by the freaking Mother Beast pirates. They're now one of the 10 richest families in Japan, Yato laughed. I heard about that from my pops. Yamato frowned. You probably already know this, but my father is Kaido, one of the 2 acting leaders of the Mother Beast pirates. You're the child of a notorious pirate villain and yet you're training to be a pro hero? Eiichiro asked. Damn, that is manly as all hell. The students of 1C and 1A continued to talk here and there before suddenly hearing a siren blaring. Warning. Level 3 security breach. All students please evacuate the school in an orderly fashion. Izuku activated his observation hockey and frowned when he saw that in Lunch Rush's cafeteria, all the students were stampeding for the exits in panic. What on earth would cause this? Tenya asked before looking over the railings, his eyes widening. The press from outside? The media? This panic was caused by the fucking media. Yamato growled, annoyed and angry. What should we do? Kobe asked as Izuku held up a finger, telling everyone to wait for him as he used the door fruit to make his way to the cafeteria and, making a vantage point for himself, used one of his lesser used abilities. Hey! Yo-yo! Check it out! Playing a funky melody with a tone fruit, Izuku turned his arm into a saxophone, his head into a cymbal, and his teeth into synth piano keys as he captivated all the panicking students with his music. It's just the media messing around. They know about All Might teaching his funky sounds. Izuku called out, going into impromptu rap as he did so. Cool your jets, no need to fear. You should know that I am here. People next to the window looked down and confirmed it for everyone else, calming the crowds down. Izuku sighed as he made his way back to the rooftop with his friends. We could hear your music from up here. Uda smiled. Who knew you had a good singing voice? I recorded it. This is getting 1 million likes in the first hour, Milo chuckled, showing his phone. Izuku just blushed bashfully, rubbing the back of his head awkwardly at the praise he was getting. Class dismissed, Aizawa said as he followed in his student's example to leave at the end of the day. The kids began gathering their things before they spied Ben moving to the desk. Oh, right. Hagakure, Kaminari, and Aoyama. A moment before you go. The 3 in question made their way over, concerned they may have done something wrong. Okay, I won't sugarcoat anything, Ben said. The three of you are in desperate need of help the most. How so, monsieur? Yuuga asked, a little nervous. Let me count the ways. Hagakure, you're practically naked for your hero costume. Whoever approved that is either a pedophile or on drugs. Toru shrunk nervously. Despite her invisible body, Ben could tell she was twiddling her thumbs. Kaminari, you can't risk using your quirk for too long or you'll go brain dead. Denki winced as Ben finished with Yuuga. And Aoyama, you can't even use your laser for 1 second before needing to either take a dump or puke your guts up. Oh we. Thankfully, Uncle Ben is here to help out. You see, my quirk allows me to copy other people's quirks, but I can also use it to change quirks as well. How they function, how they activate, the works. Why you can do that? Toru asked as Ben smiled. I can. Hagakure, you go first. Since you're already fully clothed, I'm going to make it so that your invisibility can be turned on and off at will. Toru excitedly moved forward as Ben took her hands and closed his eyes. Opening them up, he found himself in a shimmering void. He searched for what he needed and eventually found it. A beautiful prism crystal. However, the crystal was refracting all light from its surface, representing how Toru couldn't turn her invisibility off. With a sigh, Ben got to work. From his own quirk, multiple monochromatic hands reached toward the prism. With surgical precision, the prism was pulled apart, becoming a light switch and a light bulb. Ben then mixed the two to create a prismatic cube that turned on, showing multiple facets of gorgeous colors, before turning off, revealing just clear glass. Modified quirk, invisibility, allows the user to turn invisible at will as well as bend and refract all light that comes in contact with them. Alright, you're done, Ben said, deactivating his quirk as Toru looked at herself. I don't feel any different. Just focus and try turning off your quirk now. Toru nodded and focused, light rippling off her body like a reflective surface as Denki and Yuuga gasped when they saw a beautiful girl soon appear in her place. She had long, messy, wavy chartreuse hair, with pink specks, bushy eyelashes, and big round eyes, with pupils that were teal on the outside and yellow on the inside. Sacre bleu. Yuuga breathed. Holy crap, I had no idea you were so cute, Hagakure. Toru looked at her now visible hands and felt her face, tears welling up in her eyes before she threw herself at Ben, hugging him tightly and sobbing in joy. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I never knew what I looked like for so long. Ben smiled and returned the hug, patting her on the back before letting go and turning to Denki next. Alright, this will be a bit more complicated. Luckily, I've copied plenty of electricity-based quirks, so I think I can help you. Denki gulped and allowed Ben to take his hand. Ben once more found himself in the quirk forge and found the representation for Denki's quirk, an unstable battery sparking electricity all over the place. Yeah, that's gonna be a problem to be sure. He then smiled as he took from the various electric quirks he had copied and or stolen and began putting them into the battery. Soon, the battery changed shape, becoming a magnificent electric core radiating with power and pure energy. Yes, this will do nicely. He'll be happy to learn what he can do now. Modified quirk, electrification, allows the user to freely produce and manipulate electricity as well as electromagnetism to an extent. User is immune to all electricity-based attacks and has a regenerative healing factor via the use of bioelectricity. The user can also use bioelectricity to help revive fallen comrades. As soon as I first met Kaminari, I wanted to give him the powers of that guy from that one video game. Ben smirked as he exited the quirk forge. Well, Kaminari, you don't have to worry about a thing. You can now control the electricity you create. Whoa. Sweet. I feel so much stronger now. Denki cheered, pumping his fist in the air. And don't worry, I added some extra precautions so you don't short-circuit yourself in water, or blow up any car you go into. Thanks, man. I owe you one. Finally, Ben turned to Yuuga, who gulped nervously, looking more scared than excited. Ben frowned, he could see it in the Franco-Japanese boy's eyes. Still, he gently offered his hand and Yuuga took it shakily. Once more in the quirk forge, Ben saw Yuuga's quirk represented as a type of crystal, shooting out lasers in an uncontrollable fashion and cracking in certain places, leaking sparkling energy. His quirk isn't compatible with his body, it's out of control. Ben thought. Looks like I have to help fix this issue. Ben placed his hand on the crystal and breathed deeply, the cracks in the crystal sealing up and the lasers stopping altogether. He then forged the crystal into an even more beautiful gem on a pedestal and shaped it like a heart for an added touch. Naval laser upgraded to dazzling laser, The user can now shoot sparkling lasers from any part of their body as well as turn them into laser energy that allows them to move at super speeds, teleport, and bypass attacks. Exiting the quirk forge for the last time, Ben gave Yuuga a reassuring smile as the blonde looked at his hands, feeling his stomach, and then his face in wonder before tearing up. It doesn't hurt anymore, I feel trace beyond. Overcome with emotion, Yuuga did the same as Toru and hugged Ben tightly, softly weeping into his chest as he patted him on the back. Merci, Monsieur. Merci. I'm happy to help. For the first time in a long time, Ben truly felt good about his power. Listen, heroes. Don't come after me, otherwise, I'll kill this unfortunate family. Another day, another villain. This time, a thug by the name of Habit Headgear was holding a family hostage. Mount Lady, Kamui Woods, and a gentlemanly fellow with a dashing mustache named Spring Mustachio were gritting their teeth at their helplessness. Habit Headgear was strong and fast, and he had a tight hold on the innocent family thanks to his quirk, Trap Flex. Mount Lady couldn't grow into her giant form with her gigantification quirk in fear of harming the hostages, and Kamui Woods and Spring Mustachio doubted their speed would be enough to get the family out of harm's way in time. Have no fear. A familiar booming voice bellowed. Missouri Smash. All Might dashed right past the villain from behind and karate chopped him in the head. Habit Headgear was stunned as he let go of the family, allowing Kamui Woods to wrap him in wooden branch tentacles thanks to his quirk, Arbor, while Spring Mustachio rushed forward and used the Rakushiki technique, Shigan, to pierce a certain nerve point in the villain's body with his finger, causing him to collapse, completely paralyzed. After making sure the family was alright, All Might checked his watch to see if he still had a bit of time before school started. His students would manage fine without him. Besides, Nidzu would cover for him if he was a little late. Help. It's a hit and run. All Might frowned, unable to ignore the call for help, and rushed toward the source. He was eternally thankful to Izuku, Ambrosia, and Pestilus for all their work in healing him, allowing him to continue fighting the good fight even after the crippling blow All for One dealt him 6 years ago. As he made his way to the crime, he saw it had already been stopped by a giant white ball. The thug was being dragged out of his vehicle by Ambrosia herself, a strong and confident woman by the name of Tsunade Senju. Hey, Toshi. Glad to see you in high spirits today. The blonde woman smiled as she finished tying up the thug. Don't worry, I healed the hit and run victim. Nothing my repair quirk can't fix. All Might nodded as he turned to the white ball that had stopped the car, which shrunk down before revealing it was actually a large, plump woman with fair skin, blue eyes, and lightly painted fingernails. She had voluminous light gray hair that fell to her hips, along with a grayish-blue streak and a single unruly bang. Her outfit consisted of a white turtleneck sweater with ice symbols on it, a puffy white scarf, and a large white wool hat. She also wore blue-gray tights with white patterns and white shorts with a black design, the number 361, and an ice symbol on them. To complete her outfit, she wore long white boots and a white and black glove on her right hand. Ah, Mother Snow. All Might smiled as he recognized the woman. Mother Snow, real name Melanie Pin, was a sweet and, true to her hero name, motherly woman with the quirk, Snowball, which allowed her to not only create and manipulate snow but inflate herself into a giant ball that could cushion impacts or act as a shield for others. All Might. Mother Snow said as she picked up the thief. Thanks for distracting him for me. I think I should be thanking you for taking him out for me. All Might replied. Oh, like you needed to waste your strength on him. Mother Snow smirked. A hero makes no exceptions with criminal scum. All Might recounted. And that's why we all struggle to keep up with you. Mother Snow replied. Well, I can't exactly ignore someone in distress, can I? Spider-Man taught us all that. Fair. Snow Maiden shrugged. But still, there are 20 hero agencies, and it's peak hours, someone else is bound to be in the, right, the sludge villain. All Might smirked. Oh, don't you give me that look. I still stand by what I said, whatever happened to equal opportunity? Whatever happened to honesty? Hey, look All Might. The dazed thug noted. The lady got me fur. He was silenced by a finger flick by Tsunade, who had somehow produced a bowl of popcorn as she watched the two interact. She completely missed the poor schmuck was now embedded in the wall of the nearby building. You may be the symbol, but we all can do our part, big guy. Well, as a symbol, I need to keep everyone aware of the standards. All Might's smirk grew. Personally? I think you need to. Mother Snow cooed before letting some snow dip down All Might's jacket as she nuzzled her nose with his own. Chillax. The two were so close they could kiss. And judging by how they moved closer and closed their eyes. Shouldn't you be getting to school, Toshi? Tsunade asked her fellow blonde with a smirk. Oh, that's right. All Might said as he leapt off, missing Mother Snow falling to her face in shock and annoyance. See you later, Melanie. Tell Gordy and the kids I said hi. Melanie, her anger forgotten, giggled as she waved the symbol of peace off, Tsunade walking over to her friend with a playful smile. You did that on purpose, didn't you? What? No. You know I love seeing you two get cute. I just remembered he was a teacher now. Also, you two need to start with that engagement someday. Someday, but not right now, Tsunade. He still has time. Nightmare Lord AN, just some ordinary school activities before we get into the USJ. Ban also shows the beneficial powers of his quirk, helping out Hagakure, Kaminari, and Aoyama with the drawbacks of their quirks and making them into much more badass versions of themselves. Yes, Denki's modified quirk now makes him like Cole McGrath from Infamous. We'll get to see more of that in action when the time comes. Also, I wonder how All for One is gonna react when he realizes Aoyama is no longer burdened by the quirk he gave him. Chapter 12. The students of Class 1A were quite excited. Today, they would be doing rescue training at an off-site area of UA. Getting the signal from Aizawa, Kobe banged his fist on the bus, getting everyone's attention. Alright everyone, let's get on the bus. Doesn't matter how you sit, just don't cause any problems now, okay? Everyone boarded the bus, with Tenya looking dejected and muttering something about not noticing what kind of bus or something like that. He's really gotta loosen up, Uta said, kicking back in her seat with her hands behind her head. As the bus drove toward their destination, Suyu turned to En, who was minding his own business. Hey En, can I ask you something? Of course, Asui, what's up? Please, call me Sue. Anyway, I wanted to know why your name is Natural Harmonious Groupius. Who gave you that name? En frowned. Well, to be honest, I didn't really have a name growing up. I was found by a man named Getsis, who let's just say was an ambitious man, and not in a good way. Wasn't he that guy who led the group of criminals known as Team Plasma? Eiichiro asked. I heard they were taken down by All Might working together with the Lightning Mouse hero, Sparkstreak, and that kid, Ash Ketchum. En nodded his head. Indeed, I hate to say it, but Getsis had initially poisoned my mind with his twisted ideals. Thankfully, Ash was able to snap me out of it. I am forever grateful to him for giving me a chance to become a hero. Soon the class had reached their destination and gazed in awe at the massive dome-like structure before them. It was like heading into a theme park, except this theme park was going to help them train how to help rescue people. Waiting for them was a woman in a bulky space suit, metal caps on her fingers, and yellow boots. Ochako squealed as she recognized her as the space hero, 13, her favorite hero. Everyone, I've been waiting for you. 13 happily declared as everyone followed her inside. Floods, landslides, fires, every natural disaster you could imagine, I've created a simulation of it. I built this facility myself. I call this place the Unseen Simulation Joint. Otherwise known as USJ. Hey, with the way it's structured, you'd almost think it's Universal Studios Japan, Yamato chuckled. 13 began to speak about her quirk, Black Hole, and just how dangerous it was. 13 continued to explain how each teacher's trials had expanded on their own hidden potential and the dangers of using them against someone. This class will show you a new perspective. You will learn to utilize your quirks to save lives. You all have powers that are not meant to harm others, but to protect and save. I hope that after this day, you will leave with the understanding that you are all meant to help people. Thank you for listening. As 13 bowed, the students clapped at her speech. She's so awesome. Ochako clapped enthusiastically. Settle down there, fangirl, Uta chuckled playfully. Alright, let's get started, Aizawa clapped. First. Abruptly, an electrical surge traveled through all the lights, dimming the whole room by a noticeable amount. Everyone looked at Denki as he held up his hands defensively. It wasn't me. Suddenly, a dark purple rift appeared in front of the fountain that was in the middle of the whole dome. The rift suddenly expanded, the purple mist spreading wide. As Aizawa and 13 directed their attention to it, out came a hand, followed by a face with a severed hand on it. Kobe, Yamato, Uta, and Carrot felt their haki go off in alarm at the sight of the face, which belonged to a lanky-looking young man joined by a giant black monster with a beak full of sharp teeth and a dead look in its eyes, as well as a humanoid figure made of dark fog with glowing yellow eyes and dressed like a bartender. Hey, what's going on? Has the training already started? Eiichiro asked. Tenya shook his head. No, from the looks of things, those people don't need rescuing. Everyone, stay back. Izuku warned. Those are actual villains. A whole swarm of unsavory-looking individuals pooled out of the portal, all of them with bloodlust in their eyes. I see only Eraserhead and 13. The Mist Man noted. According to the staff schedule we obtained, All Might should have been here. So, they're the scum responsible for trespassing, Izuku growled as he put on his goggles, recalling how the press was able to get past security the other day. Where is he? The man with hands all over his body and face muttered. Where is All Might? I even went through the trouble of bringing all these people, too. I wonder if he'll come if we kill some stupid kids? The fact he said that so nonchalantly and loudly for all of them to hear sent shivers down quite a few students' spines. Kobe never thought he would see pure evil staring at him until he had graduated. And most of the villains looked like common street thugs. But the man covered in hands, the Mist Man, and whatever that monster with them was, it was causing his hockey to go into overdrive. You creeps think you're scary? Yamato laughed. I'm the son of Kaido of the Beasts. I've seen scarier. Sensei, what about the trespasser sensor? Momo asked. We have them, 13 nodded, though a bit hesitant. Does that mean they are only here or at the whole school? Shoto stated. Either way, if the sensors aren't working, that means someone has a quirk that's disabling them. They may be fools for trespassing here, but they thought this through, so they're still intelligent fools. Kaminari, try and see if you can get a signal going. 13 ordered. Right, Denki said, using his newly upgraded quirk to charge up his radio headset. Thanks to the increased power of his electricity, he was able to get something out. I've got it. He quickly called in. Help. Villains attacking. We need help. Over. Did you have to say it so loud so the villains could hear? Kyoka sarcastically commented. We need to buy time until help can arrive, Izuku said as he prepared to leap down, much to the concern of his students. Izuku-sensei, are you sure it's wise to go down and fight them all by yourself? Tenya asked worriedly. The Erasure hero simply smirked. Keep this in mind, no good hero is just a one-trick pony. As Izuku leapt down the stairs, one villain with gun barrels for fingers smirked as he was joined by a heavyset patchwork villain with a bull helmet and a female villain with metal ropes for hair. Shooting squad, on my signal. However, Izuku quickly activated his quirk, Erasure, which could disable any quirks of those who were in his line of sight. The villains were stunned to see their powers not working, allowing the Erasure hero to take them out swiftly. Dumbass. That's Eraserhead, he can cancel quirks out just by looking at you, shouted a villain with a Venus flytrap for a head. Canceling quirks, eh? Another villain cockily grinned as he charged forward with 4 arms and rocks all over his body. Let's see if that works against mutant types like mine. Nope, I can't, Izuku admitted casually before punching the villain in the face, distorting it as his fist sunk in before knocking him away. However, statistically people like you tend to shine in close combat. Back with the students, they were heading for the exit with Kobe and Yamato coming up last to prevent any sneak attacks. Just as they were about to get to the door, the fog man blocked their path. I can't allow you all to leave so easily. Forgive our impoliteness, but I am Kurogiri and we of the League of Villains are here on a mission, the extermination of the symbol of peace, All Might. You really think you can kill the symbol of peace so easily? And asked. Do you even realize what the symbol of peace truly is? I don't think you do, since you're only talking about killing All Might. Guess we gotta get past this creep first. Yamato scowled as he readied his club. Everyone, stand back. 13 ordered, flipping open one of her finger caps and preparing to fight. 13 sensei, come on, we can take this creep, Eiichiro said. Hold on, Kobe said, pulling the redhead back. Do you see that guy? He's made of mist. We don't know if he even had a physical body. It matters not, I shall scatter you to the ends of the earth. Kurogiri then spread his body out. Acting quickly, 13 tried to pull away as much of his mist as she could to give her students some breathing room. Tenya grabbed whoever was nearest to him and ran out of the mist, which was Ochako and Sero. Shoji grabbed Yuuga and Minoru, as they were closest to him, and managed to anchor himself into the ground to avoid being sucked in. And used his Metagross legs to anchor into the ground while grabbing Rikedu and Koji. Yamato transformed, grabbing Toru and Kyoka and throwing them out of the mist to safety as he was pulled in. Everyone, Tenya cried out in worry as the mist dispersed to reveal those who managed to anchor themselves in or avoid it. Fewer students were thrown off, Kurogiri mused. All the better, I suppose, though. That just means fewer students in the other areas I've sent them. 13 could only glare as he worried about all the students as Sero turned to Shoji. Shoji, where is everyone? Shoji stretched out his tentacle limbs, transforming them into ears and eyes before confirming that all their classmates were still at USJ and alive. What do we do? Rikiru asked as he took out a Hershey chocolate bar from his utility bar to use in conjunction with his quirk, Sugar Rush. Kaminari managed to get an SOS signal out at the very least. We just need to hold on until help arrives, 13 said as she got in front of her students protectively. All Might had managed to make it to his class on time and was currently doing a lecture in class when Nizu came in with an urgent look on his face. We need to bring as many of the staff as we can to the USJ. There's a villain attack. What? Izuku gasped as he stood up from his desk. Oh no, Lilik exclaimed, covering her mouth. We'll come too, Kazuya said, already growing into his son mode. Beginning mission, Mukuro said dangerously as she took out a combat knife she had hidden in her skirt. As All Might bulked up into his hero form, he was shocked to see most of his students had opted to just jump out the window and were rushing straight in the direction of the USJ. No hesitation whatsoever. Those kids are going to make fine heroes. The symbol of peace smiled as he prepared to follow after them. Oh crap. Kobe swore to himself as fell toward the waters of the flood zone. Fortunately, he managed to right himself in time and kick off the air using Geppo, making his way over to the ship and landing with a sigh of relief. Kobe-kun. Tsuyu called out as she hopped onto the ship. Glad to see you're okay. We need to find a way off this boat and back to the others, Kobe said as he looked over the railing of the ship to see villains swarming in the water. Though we got some unwanted company in front of us first. How do you propose we get past them? Just one. Kobe took a deep breath before leaping out of the water, coating his fist in armament hockey and pulling it back. Honesty impact. The massive shockwave Kobe released created a vacuum, sending the villains up a waterspout before coming down into a whirlpool, causing all the villains to slam into each other. Using this distraction, Kobe and Tsuyu made their way out of the flood zone and toward the plaza. You're honestly really cool, Karo. Oh shit. Run away. Mommy. Yamato roared as the villains in the ruins zone fled from him, having transformed into his Inokami form as he breathed out a massive blast of cold, freezing several villains who weren't lucky enough to get out of the way in time. Damn, you are so manly, Eiichiro said, clenching his fist with manly tears in his eyes as Yamato chuckled before pulling his iron club out and dashing past the hardening boy, striking a chameleon-esque villain who had tried to sneak attack him. Keep your eyes everywhere. You never know who might try to sneak up on you. Eiichiro nodded before hardening himself and allowing Yamato to send him flying toward a fleeing villain with a strike from his club. There's too much light. Dark Shadow is helpless in these conditions. Fumikage muttered as he, Ujiro, and Uda found themselves in the conflagration zone. Then let's turn down the lights a little. Uda smirked as she took a deep breath and began singing. Hello darkness, my old friend, I've come to talk with you again. Suddenly, the fires began fizzling down, the area blackening as Dark Shadow began growing stronger the more dark it became. However, a halo made of musical notes surrounded his head, keeping him from going out of control. Revelry in the dark. Fumikage muttered, approving of Uda's choice of music as he and Ujiro charged at the villains, who just now realized how screwed they were. In the squall zone, Denki and Carrot had managed to hide from some villains who were chasing them down as the electric boy turned to the bunny mink. Any ideas? We take 'em on is what we do, Carrot said. Thanks to all the rain coming down, we could conduct lots of lightning. Hey, well, no time like the present. Denki smirked as the two charged out of cover. The villains could barely react as Denki fired a barrage of electric bullets from his hand while Carrot leapt into the air, harnessing Electrical Luna. The electricity traveled through the dense water vapor and shocked several of the villains into unconsciousness. Carrot beamed and gave Denki a thumbs up, which he returned with a grin. Momo had wound up in the mountain zone with Mina and Ellie. Unfortunately for them, most of the villains waiting for them were male. Well, looks like we got some fine-looking specimens with us. One of the villains said as he stepped forward. And do my eyes deceive me? Is that the princess of the Hadunk clan there? Ellie scoffed. You're damn right. But these saucy bits aren't gonna be for any of you, that's for sure. Now, your family is offering a lot of money for your safe return. If you girls let my boys have fun with you, we'll return you to your family and lives. Mostly unharmed. Resist. And well, we'll still have our fun. Who knows, maybe you'll enjoy it. The girls all growled at the ultimatum the man had given. You sure you can handle this? I bet you couldn't even please any woman. Mina scoffed before giving a vicious grin. Plus, my quirk makes acid. Bring that shit near me and I'll just melt your dicks off. All the males winced and crossed their legs while one actually went into a fetal position, crying out, "Why does it still burn?" Also, you probably should know I keep a lot of the stuff I build on standby in case of emergencies. Ellie smirked before tossing something out. Meet the Axton Saber turret. Made it in support class the other day. What Ellie tossed out unfolded into a large quad-barreled sentry that opened fire on the villains with non-lethal rounds, that hit like getting punched by an angry gorilla. Momo smirked and created a beanbag shotgun to provide supporting fire while Mina cackled and fired acid globs everywhere. Shoto was by his lonesome in the landslide zone, but he wasn't in any immediate danger, mostly because he had frozen all the villains in the area. This is why the hero course system has been refined, to keep out those who are untrained in the use of their quirks. But rather than choose a more suitable path, you let yourselves be drawn in by the allure of a villain's life. I dunno, I feel like the villain's life was a right fit for me. Shoto's instincts told him to jump out of the way as a large muscular masked man with purple hair and a devious grin came in, slamming his mighty fists down and breaking some of the ice. The half-and-half boy's eyes narrowed when he recognized the man, Jesus Burgess, formerly known as the pro hero known as Champion. He was well respected, especially since he was quirkless and got by on his own strength, until he ended up beating a villain to death when the villain had already peacefully surrendered. A disgraced pro hero has decided to join this ragtag bunch of poor thinking fools? Well, all the same, you won't be escaping justice this time. You know, I honestly expected the Son of Endeavor to have a bit more power behind him. This ice is pathetic. Shoto scowled as he prepared to unleash another ice attack, only for his right shoulder to be shot, making him scream in pain as he fell down, only for another bullet to tear through his right leg, leaving him to fall on his side, blood coloring the ice around him. Nice shot, Augur. But this brat ain't who we're looking for, Burgess laughed as Van Augur jumped down from his hidden perch. The Son of Endeavor should count himself lucky that fate has decreed he live this day, Augur said as the two villains made their way to the plaza. But then again, fate favors the pathetically naive and self-absorbed sometimes. Shoto gritted his teeth in anger and pain as he tried to use more ice, but the pain in his right limbs made it impossible. The only choice would be to use his left side, but he refused. I won't use his fire, I won't use that bastard's fire. Back near the entrance, the students who had avoided getting warped away were standing alongside 13 against Kurogiri, who continued to block the exit. Quite a few students here. I should be cautious or some might escape, Kurogiri thought to himself. Suddenly, the entrance doors burst wide open, hitting Kurogiri right in a metal collar that was around where his neck would be, sending him flying over everyone as they gasped in surprise, only to smile when they saw who had come. Have no fear, students. We are here. All Might declared as Izuku and the rest of the Class 1C crew had arrived. Chapter 13. Glad that you all could show up. En smiled as Class 1C and All Might arrived to help. Kaminari's SOS worked, Tenya said in relief. Is everyone okay? Izuku asked as he looked around. Some of us were scattered by a villain with some kind of warp quirk, Ochako said. They're all over the USJ. Then it looks like we need to give him a hand, Makoto said. Let's split up, team. As everyone split off in groups to the different zones to help out the scattered students, Ben paused, feeling an overwhelming sense of dread as he looked toward the plaza and saw the giant hulking monster. It's him, I know it is. Mr. Eraserhead looks like he could use help, Penny said, looking to see Aizawa taking on the villains in the plaza all by himself. And like he's losing steam. He's a good fighter, but he's no good against multiple foes swarming him. Izuku frowned before noticing the guy with hands all over his body rushing toward him. And it looks like he could use help right now. Die. Baku bro. Eiichiro smiled as he and Yamato saw Katsuki, Kirby, Chikara, and Rebecca charging in. Stone Kirby, Kirby shouted as she transformed after eating some stray rubble, turning into a stone statue that Rebecca grabbed by using strong right to make a makeshift flail and club the surrounding villains. Here we go. Forest SAP ball tree, Chikara yelled as he pulled a few pieces of sappy tree bark from a bag he had on him, gathered all the sap into several small sticky, crystal orbs, and sent them at the villains, causing them to get stuck to each other as Katsuki unleashed a massive explosion on all of them. We didn't need your help but appreciate it regardless, Yamato smirked as he turned back to his normal form, slinging his club over his head. You're welcome. Come on, we gotta regroup with everyone at the plaza. We're getting the hell out of here, Katsuki said. You certainly look worse for wear, Todoroki, Sumiko said as she, Mifa, Shan, and Kobeni arrived at the landslide zone to see Shoto in a pool of blood. The damage doesn't seem serious, but he did get shot in his right arm and leg, Mifa noted before crouching down and gently putting her hands on Shoto. Shoto didn't know what was going on as he felt the pain fade away, an amber-red glow surrounding him as he felt strength return to his body, allowing him to get back up and feel where he had been shot to see the bullet holes had vanished. "Are you all right, Todoroki?" Mifa gently asked. "Yes, thank you." Shun came over, having interrogated one of the still-conscious thugs that Shoto had frozen earlier. And by interrogated, I mean he used invasion to read through his memories. "We need to head back to the plaza. They have a bioengineered weapon known as a Nomu that can supposedly kill All Might." We gotta hurry," Kobeni cried as she began to run back to the plaza, only for Sumiko to trap her in one of her perfect cubes and pull her back with a magic chain attached to the cube. "Relax, Kobeni-chan. All Might won't even have to bother with this Nomu as Izuku is on the case. Gotta admit, you brats are hard to pin down." A villain in a skull mask known as Tesla said, having been one of the few villains to avoid Momo, Mina, and Ellie's onslaught by burrowing underground. "I just had to wait until your guard was lowered before taking one of you hostage." Mina struggled in Tesla's grip as electricity formed in his hand, which he held toward her face. Ellie and Momo were at a standstill against him, unsure what to do to help their friend. Thankfully, they wouldn't have to worry as Mina was suddenly pulled out of Tesla's hands and into the awaiting arms of Yato, who had used Snatch to do so. "Just dropping in?" Mina giggled. "Sorry, but I already have eyes on someone. Thanks for the save though." Yato smirked knowingly. "Lucky them." Tesla was unable to react to this as Kohaku appeared from behind him and punched the ground. Bedrock uppercut. The villain was sent flying into the air by a giant stone fist with spiked knuckles rising from the ground. Rosa and Nia swung by to help check up on Momo and Ellie while Yato set Mina back on her feet. "Any injuries?" Nia asked. "I know a bit about medicine if you need me." Tesla landed in a heap, his body laying in the Family Guy death pose as Rosa tapped him with her foot before shrugging and then sitting on him with her big butt, pinning him to the ground. "Was that really necessary?" Momo asked. "Probably a good idea. With a quirk like that, he must have been the one gumming up the communications," Ellie noted. Ujiro, Uda, and Fumikage were surprised to see Makoto, Mukuro, Milo, and Himiko arrive in the conflagration zone. There weren't many villains left, and with the 4 members of 1C arriving, they wouldn't last much longer regardless. "Onigiri," Himiko shouted, delivering a dashing slash with her swords that sent the villains she passed by collapsing with severe cuts on their bodies. "Are there any injuries?" Mukuro asked as she checked over the 3 1A students. "A few scrapes and bruises, but we'll be fine." Uda shrugged. These villains couldn't even beat a child having just gotten their quirk, much less students of one of the best hero schools in the country. "A few certainly gave us touch and go here and there," Ujiro noted. "But we were able to handle it." "Seems you all are doing quite well without our assistance," Milo said as he looked around. "Honestly, I feel like you could have handled this yourselves a little longer. Let us make haste to the rest of our comrades. Surely the villains have realized their folly in trying to challenge us," Fumikage said. "Damn. Who turned on the heaters?" Denki asked, sweating when Kazuya arrived in the downpour zone alongside Lilik, Marco, and Bakara. The Seraphim of Pride had a miniature sun hovering over him, courtesy of Lilik and Bakara combining their Klima tact and glyphs together. Now, he was radiating pure heat over the area that evaporated the artificial rain surrounding him and his allies and making the remaining villains pant heavily from heatstroke. "This is so cool. Dr. Vegapunk's Seraphim are seriously powerful," Carrot excitedly noted as Marco protected her and Denki behind an extra thick ice shield. "Don't have to tell me twice. I grew up with them," Marco laughed as Click chirped happily. Kazuya grabbed the miniature sun in his hand before holding it out and flicking his finger, sending it flying toward the villains as it expanded into a larger fireball. The villains screamed as they were severely burned before being left in a smoking pile on the ground. "Shall we head off?" Kazuya smiled, shrinking down to his normal size now that the sun was gone. "You are my new god," Denki managed. Kobe and Tsuyu had just reached the edge of the flood zone when they saw Aizawa fighting valiantly against several villains in the plaza. The man covered in hands was watching with a calculating look in his eyes while the hulking abomination stood idly beside him. Suddenly, before anyone could react, the hand villain rushed at Aizawa while his back was turned. The Erasure hero managed to notice him just in time to try and block with his elbow, only for the villain to grab it and much to Kobe and Tsuyu's shock and horror, slowly began to decay the part he touched. Shota managed to kick Tomura away, but the damage was done. Shota could no longer use his right arm, which the other villains tried to take advantage of, but Shota easily dealt with them. Aizawa-sensei isn't gonna last much longer. Tsuyu noted. Don't worry, I think help is on the way. Kobe realized when he looked up. Sure enough, Izuku, Hilda, Ben, and Penny landed down in the plaza. Penny acted first and pulled Aizawa to safety, scanning the damage done to his elbow. Don't worry, Mr. Eraserhead. I am equipped to handle this. Configuration, heal. Turning her hand into some kind of syringe gauntlet, Penny injected it into Aizawa's damaged arm and healed the damage, the decayed flesh restoring to normal as the Erasure hero breathed a sigh of relief. I could have kept going, but, thanks. What's this? Seems like we've got a surprise mob raid. The man covered in hands muttered, scratching his neck in irritation. But from what I can see, All Might is here as well. Kurogiri landed beside the young villain after having been sent flying when All Might and Class 1C barged through the entrance earlier. The warp villain turned to his ward with urgency. Forgive me, Tomura. I have no idea how they blindsided me. No problem, Kurogiri. We still have what we came for right in front of us. Tomura then gestured to the beast beside him. Nomu. Kill All Might and all those students with him. Show them how weak and pathetic heroes truly are. The beast, now known as Nomu, howled as it charged up the stairs and straight for All Might, 13, and the students of 1A who hadn't been warped by Kurogiri. The symbol of peace quickly stood in front of his students and blocked the beast's charge, surprised at just how much strength it had. What's this? Some kind of doomsday ripoff? All Might bellowed before suplexing the Nomu down the stairs and away from the students in 13. If you think this beast scares me, you have another thing coming. Hee, you may think that, but he was designed to perfectly counter you. Tomura taunted. Nomu has shock absorption and super regeneration. He's a highly efficient punching bag that can punch right back. Thanks for telling me what powers it has. All Might sarcastically commented as he squared off with the monster. As All Might and the Nomu fought, Ben watched this going on and heard what Tomura said, a bitter pit forming in his stomach. I was right, he is behind this. Ben, look out. Izuku called out as Ben turned to see Tomura charging for him, his hand outstretched. Penny saw this and gasped as she left Aizawa's side, flying with her jet boots to help Ben before quickly being forced to dodge a bullet fired from out of nowhere. Righting herself, she saw Jesus Burgess and Van Augur jump down. Hey, Shiggy. We tore up that little bitch son of Endeavor, Burgess laughed. Need any help? Nope, I already have my victim right in front of me. Tomura smirked as he grabbed Ben, only for nothing to happen. Wow, you really are cool, Eraserhead. That wasn't him, Ben said calmly as Tomura looked up to see Ben's eyes glowing red and glaring down at him. What the hell? Some kind of copycat power? More than that, Ben said as he suddenly grabbed Tomura by the throat and lifted him into the air. Shiggy, Burgess exclaimed, only to suddenly be sent flying by a powerful punch from Izuku, who used the dragon fruit, model Spinosaurus, to transform into a muscular anthropomorphic Spinosaurus. Van Augur barely had time to react himself as Hilda rushed him. The villain aimed his rifle at her and fired, which she dodged, only for her eyes to widen when the bullet teleported behind her, hitting her in the flabby side. Cheap shot. Hilda winced, thankful that, optimal condition, quickly healed the wound. No, it is merely the effect of my quirk, Move Point. Van Augur explained. With it, I can teleport any object in my vicinity, regardless of contact. Back with Tomura and Ben, the latter found himself in the quirk space, a mental manifestation of a quirk copycat users and telepaths like Shun could access, to find Tomura's quirk. What he found was a wave of pure destruction. This is an edited quirk, made from the basis of something else. Wait, this feels like Overhaul's quirk. Ben noted before his arms reached forward. But only destruction remains. It can't be allowed to exist. The arms pushed against the wave, which slowly began to fade and settle until nothing remained of it. Ben nodded, having made sure he had permanently destroyed the quirk before exiting the quirk space and setting Tomura down in the real world. My quirk, what did you do? He gasped before Ben slammed his fist into his face, completely knocking the hand on his face off in the process. Tomura was sent flying before crashing into the ground, continuing to tumble and roll before coming to a stop. As he got up, anyone could tell how badly damaged he was. His clothes were torn up in places and several of the hands around his body were thrown off and broken, but the worst was definitely his face. A bruised imprint of Ben's fist was over his face, which had also broken his nose and knocked out a few of his teeth. Blood spat out of Tomura's lip as he fell to the ground. Kurogiri quickly moved to his side. Tomura. Nomu. The villain cried in fury. Forget All Might. Kill that piece of shit. Who took my quirk. Nomu stopped in the middle of its fight with All Might and turned to charge at Ben, only for the symbol of peace to quickly grab him from behind and deliver a German suplex. I don't think so, villain. Whatever plans you had today are cancelled. Burgess charged back into the fray, throwing a punch at Izuku, who turned his fist into a spiked mace with a arms fruit. Man, I can't believe I'm fighting champion. Izuku geeked out. Well, you're not really a pro hero anymore since you killed a villain who had peacefully surrendered. That guy was a pussy. Saying crap about having a code and wanting to avoid unnecessary violence. The thrill of battle is the only thing that matters to a man. Izuku's eyes narrowed as he morphed his other arm into a green candy syrup with a candy fruit that he unleashed onto Burgess, trapping him in place. And to think I almost considered you my other idol. He growled, readying for a fight, and then ducking away from Tomura's hand as Burgess found himself being pulled back. No need to waste time on this punk, Izu, Yato smirked as the other students reconverged at the plaza. Sides, we need an actual fight too. Burgess, fighting against Snatch, leapt upwards and ready to double hammer fist onto the Seraphim, only to be blindsided by Kohaku's hammer and feel his teeth loosen and his face break. Please take at least enough trauma for 3 times. Chikara used, almost bored as he used status promotion. Otherwise you'll learn nothing. Burgess pulled out some of the ground and tossed it at the flying boy, who was shielded by Sumiko as she declared. Absolute cancel. The debris fell to the ground harmlessly and the Rouge Pro then found himself punched away by Makoto. I don't know who you are or what the hell kind of quirk you have. Tomura glared as he dodged all of Izuku's attacks and tried and land a hit or two in, but to no avail. But you are not keeping me from this. 1. I don't actually have a quirk, Izuku said, taking advantage of Tomura's shock to finally hit him with a mace hand. And 2. The minute you attacked my friends? You lost any mercy. Your friends, eh? Tomura, ignoring the pain and bleeding, smirked. How like a hero, using pretty words to downplay his love of violence that this society accepts and cheers. Izuku calmly struck Tomura with his mace hand, silencing the villain, and sending him skidding away. Next time you try the noble demon route? Mean it. Izuku glared, not noticing a familiar black sheen overtaking Tomura's hands. Meanwhile, Van Augur was having a bit of a struggle with Hilda, who could shrug off his bullets thanks to her original quirk and was moving faster than he liked due to harnessing her safe amount of one for all. This is troublesome, it seems fate has dealt a losing hand to us. Hilda laughed as she dodged another bullet, quickly using danger sense to avoid it again when Augur teleported it. As she dodged, she felt something building up, and just as Augur leveled another shot at her, a cloud of purple smoke exploded out of her. What the heck? The plump girl exclaimed in her head before noticing a black-haired young man in a red trench coat with the collar covering the lower half of his face standing nearby. You're unlocking our quirks rather quickly. That was my power, smokescreen, just now. The man said. My name is N-Tatai aka the Vapor Hero, Smoke Eater. I am the 6th user of One for All. Maybe wait until after we're out of a life or death situation to throw me a curveball, Hilda said as N chuckled before disappearing. What is this? Van Augur said confused, looking around. Taking advantage of this, Hilda pulled her fist back before bursting out of the cloud appearing in front of Augur before he could react. Jato smash. Delivering a sumo palm strike to Augur's midsection, Hilda smirked as the sniper was sent flying into Tomura's back, distracting him long enough for Izuku to clobber him over the head with his mace hand and send the two crashing into Burgess. We need to escape. We are no match for these students. Kurogiri noted. Before Kurogiri could move to teleport himself, Tomura, Burgess, and Van Augur away, Izuku suddenly appeared in front of them using Saru, turning back to normal as ghosts seemed to surround him, thanks to the hollow fruit. What? You aren't getting away. Kurogiri could barely react as one of the ghosts went right through him. Suddenly, he fell on his hands and knees and curled up into a fetal position, a depressed look in his eyes. I want to die and be reborn as a clam. What the hell? Tomura gawked before glaring up at Izuku, who smirked. You really thought you could just waltz in here, attack students of the best hero school in the country, and get away with it? Clearly, you aren't the thinking type. This is all wrong. Tomura muttered weakly. All Might was supposed to die. We were supposed to show the world how weak society really was. That's where you're wrong, villain. All Might said, having been pummeling the Nomu, his blows overpowering its shock absorption. You should know that our alma mater has a saying, go beyond, plus ultra. With one last mighty punch, All Might sent the Nomu flying out of the USJ and into the stratosphere, punching through several clouds as it turned into a twinkle in the sky. All Might sighed as he dusted himself off, looking around and smiling when he saw all his students gathering, safe and sound. He's not weak at all, Sensei was working off outdated information. Tomura cursed, unable to move as Izuku backed away from him. It's over. Your plan has failed. The plan may have failed, but fate decrees that Tomura not fall this day. A spiral suddenly appeared in the air, from which emerged a pale man in a top hat with a cane and tap dancing shoes. Then the spiral took on an orange hue and turned into a short-haired man wearing an orange mask with a single eye hole and light armor. About time you showed up, Lafitte. Burgess smirked, wiping blood from his face. Where the hell were you guys? Making sure Nomu can't provide any intel. The man smirked as he bowed to the students and All Might. Greetings, children and All Might. I know you, you're Lafitte, the disgraced police officer, right? Ujiro asked, squinting to make sure. Wait, the guy who? Mina whispered to Ejiru, who nodded. Ah, someone has heard my name. I was beginning to worry I'd been forgotten. The man smirked, giving a bow as he twirled his cane behind his back. Hey, Mr. Lafitte. The other newcomer pouted, before turning his attention to his supposed leader. I'm here too. Also, dang Tomura. You got beat up. Toby. Tomura held back a growl. Be useful for once and help Kurogiri get us out of here. And if I don't? Toby smirked, only to find himself gasping for air as Tomura, suddenly invigorated, leapt upwards and wrapped his legs around the masked man's neck. I'll twist your Horikoshi and Kishimoto damned neck, Tomura roared in anger. Okay. Mercy. Toby choked out his clawed for air. Everyone else couldn't help but sweat drop at the scene. After being released, Toby distorted space around himself and his allies, all of them disappearing from the battlefield. This isn't over, All Might. You and all your brats. I'll destroy all of you, Tomura snapped before seeing Izuku's eyes focused on him. We'll be ready. There were no words between the two as the villains escaped through a warp of distorted space. However, some kind of wordless understanding was felt between them in the process. This brat, this feeling, I may want All Might's head on a pike, but this guy, he's my real nemesis. After the villains escaped, All Might looked over to make sure all of the students were alright while Penny came over to Ben's side and hugged him. Well done, she said. Then why do I feel like? Ben started, but Penny booped his nose, something she'd seen Hilda and Rosa do to cheer him up. True, the villains got away, but you saved everyone. I'd say that makes this a good day. Izuku, now back to normal, smiled. The police and staff of UA had arrived to round up all the defeated villains as the students of Class 1A and 1C took a moment to relax. Thankfully, Mifa, Sumiko, Penny, Nia, and Ben acted as the chief medics so there were no injuries to be found. Man, I can't believe we actually took down real villains, Ejiru exclaimed excitedly. I thought we weren't going to get into that until the end of the year, at least. It's a good thing we came when we did. Lilik smiled. Milo chuckled. Yeah, but it seems like we weren't needed out there with everyone kicking those villains to the curb. I still can't believe the champion is with those villains, En noted. I saw many of his battles and he was a truly marvelous pro hero in his time. Yeah, but apparently, he figured being a villain was more glamorous, Izuku noted. All Might and Nidzu smiled as the students talked happily with each other, glad to see they were in high spirits despite how off the rails the whole thing had been. Truly this sense of camaraderie would continue to grow stronger in the coming days. Dude, when were you going to reveal you could use multiple devil fruit powers? Rosa pouted to Izuku, she and the others were sad to have missed it. Well, I can only do one of each type at a time and it takes it out of me, Izuku admitted. Until I can do better, I thought it best to keep that under wraps. Or just take pride in it, Makoto smirked. Sorry for stepping on your turf for that, Kaz. No apologies needed. Kazuya waved, then smiled knowingly. Besides, I do believe someone else will get Izuku to see that. Before anyone could inquire what the Seraphim of Pride meant, Ochako made her way over to Izuku, her questioning finished. You were so freaking cool, Izu. She beamed, missing the blush on the green-haired boy's face. I mean, I knew you had so many powers, but wow. Izuku managed a thanks before Ochako noticed his red face. Oh? Did you get sick overusing your power, or something? She asked in worry, checking his temperature, and somehow missing the steam erupting from his ears before he fainted. Weak. Shun, Chikara, and Yato all groaned as everyone else laughed at the scene. Well, minus Okako, who was worried she'd somehow killed the poor boy. Izuku, stay with me. The gravity girl begged. Say something. Anything. Okako? Izuku asked in a daze. You have wonderful eyes. He then lost consciousness again. He's lost his mind. Okako screamed. There is no way they're this dense. Mukuro mentioned. Well, Izuku is a boy. Hilda shrugged. Well, that could have gone better, Burgess said as the League of Villains recuperated back at their bar. Thankfully, the effects of the negative holo had left Kurogiri, who was serving them drinks. I don't see how. I lost my quirk, all our underlings were wiped out, and the students were far stronger than Sensei expected. Tomura angrily vented. And worse, All Might wasn't weak in the slightest. My boy, you shouldn't let this get you down. A thick Jamaican voice spoke up as Tomura and his comrades turned to who spoke. After all, failure tends to be the best teacher in these situations. You would know about failure, eh, Shiki? Van Augur noted. The other person was a very tall elderly man dressed in traditional Japanese clothes consisting of an orange-trimmed, red and black kimono robe tied together with a dark green sash, and a golden chain around his waist. He also wore a yellow-striped tattered haori coat draped over his shoulders, which complemented his golden mane-like hair, reaching down to the ground. But what most stood out about him were his legs and the top of his head. See, where this fellow's legs should have been, there were katanas. And atop his head, stuck inside it, more like, was half of a ship's steering wheel. This was Shiki the Golden Lion, a former crewmate of Kaido and Big Mom from their Rocks days and once a formidable pirate in his own right, commanding a fleet of 52 divisions before Roger, Rayleigh, and their friends scattered and dismantled his crew. That I do, Shiki smirked, lighting up a cigar. Failures give you information so you can plan better. And like I said, while seeing where you went wrong is important, do recall where you went right. No one will know about Nomu. You guys snuck into UA, proved the kids are strong but can improve, and the most important of you are still free with no one the wiser. See? Toby beamed. And this means there are open spots for other members. Better members. Good boy, Toby. Lafitte smiled, patting the masked boy head. Shiki then helped Tomura onto a chair and poured him a drink. So, who was it? He asked. I know that look on your face, the look of someone who's seen someone who opposes them and that they hate, and yet sees something worth respecting. I think his name was Izuku, Tomura recalled. He said he didn't have a quirk, but he could use that pressure you and Sensei can do, turn into a dragon, weapons, and channel lightning, and when I was fighting him. The sleek, black sheen returned to Tomura's hands, and this time it stayed. Armament, eh? Shiki smirked, then burst into laughter before recomposing himself. Gee ha 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 ha. Well, looks like the government did lose the devil fruit after all, and if my intel is right, Rayleigh made sure the kid knows how to use it. If he were still alive, I'd owe Zebek a night in the pleasure district. Still, your info was off the mark, Mr. Sensei, Toby said as he turned to a nearby TV with the display reading sound only. Indeed, clearly, I was working with outdated information. I had assumed the injury I dealt All Might 5 years ago would weaken him to the point where he could be worn down. But he was as strong as when we fought. On the matter at hand, we lost Decay. An old man's voice spoke up in frustration from the TV. How was that even possible? Some nerd took it, Tomura explained. Wavy hair, glasses. Well, he escaped after all. The old man cackled. My greatest creation. Alive, so strong and so close after all this time. Sensei? Tomura asked curiously. Don't mind them, Shiki said, putting a hand on Tomura's shoulder. Right now, you need more training if you want to match those brats, and you'll need more than just us backing you up. You'll need your own crew by your side, those who will be willing to follow you to the ends of the earth. You know you already got us. Burgess smirked, Augur, Lafitte, and Toby nodding as Tomura rubbed his neck, glad to no longer feel any itching anymore before grinning. You know, maybe you're onto something. And as someone who once led the largest criminal fleet in the history of the world, I can be of aid in that regard, Shiki smirked as he finished up a cigar. Chapter 14. After the events of the USJ, students had the remainder of the week off to recover from the experience. They were heavily encouraged to not share what they went through with anyone else but their parents and of therapists, for fear of the league going after them. Izuku had found himself pampered and borderline quarantined at the Midoriya home, his parents worrying sick about him in spite of it all. Kamiko was elated her big brother was alright and seemed to pick up on Izuku's strong dislike for Champion and Tomura, drawing pictures of him beating them up and taking every opportunity to mark them as meanies whenever she saw their pictures or heard their names. Armid had made a call to her mother about the attack, but had otherwise remained vigil and unmoved in her guarding of the family, something that both worried Izuku but made him rest easier. Katsuki and Kirby were annoyed with the request to stay silent, but understood the reasoning. With their free time, Kirby had tried in vain to find information on some of the league members while Katsuki called up Zeph to ask if he'd give him a refresher. Ben had been kept and pampered on Maya worried midnight, which he didn't really mind. His mother being an underground hero meant she often worked odd hours, so he welcomed time with her. She had let him out for a brief chat with Izuku over their contact with Tomura that day. Dorothy and Meadle grounded the Seraphim while remarking in pride of them, as had Dr. Vegapunk when he gave them a call. Meanwhile, Pilar had gone, in Rebecca's words, borderline Liam Neeson hunting down clues on the league. They may not have been aiming for Becky, but no one messes with my family. He had so far come up empty, although a Sudeo pal of his, Hiron, did say that if he proved himself, he might be able to arrange a call. Marco had retreated in days-long meditation, working on better understanding his powers, including those of the very mask he wore. The others couldn't be sure of his progress, but the small smiles he made during said meditation and a tear or two gave them the impression he may have made some sort of contact with his parents, so that was A+. Hilda and Rosa had decided to try their hand at meditation as well, with some results they kept hidden for now. Penny had similarly been kept at home by her father, but she was at least to call the others. Currently, the teachers at UA are in a meeting with Detective Tsukuchi. A few representatives of some of the facilities that were close allies with UA were there as well, such as the SCP Foundation, the S-Rankers, and even some of the lower members of the Heroic Public Safety Committee. It's a good thing that the students of Class 1A were able to get a signal out to help despite the sabotage those villains made. DePestilis, the representative for the SCP Foundation and a trusted friend of All Might, said, "Still, we must address the situation and how the students of Class 1C, without prompting from any of their teachers, moved to the USJ in order to provide assistance." An agent from the HPSC said, "While I understand it can be counted as vigilantism, if it wasn't for them, things would have gotten much uglier." Nidzu pointed out. Be that as it may, the HPSC still views this as unsanctioned. The agent addressed. "And trust me, they were very adamant about getting the details on one of your students, Izuku Midoriya." This made everyone tense, especially in regards to Izuku. Nidzu felt his fur bristle. It seemed those 5 old fools were already setting their eyes on Izuku in particular. It made sense, given the origin of his powers. "If the HPSC has any issues, they can take it up with me," Toshinori said firmly. "I was there to supervise them as their teacher, after all." "Yes, and that's why they aren't being given a harsher judgment." The agent nodded. Still, the higher-ups insisted that they be barred from the sports festival, except for Midoriya. "And what do they want exactly with my cousin? Why is he getting special treatment?" Tatsumaki, the number 2 S-ranker, asked. Indeed, the other number 2 hero, in the eyes of some, was maternally related to Izuku, being Inko's niece through her sister. Tatsumaki had yet to properly reunite with or introduce herself to Izuku, being one of, if not the most powerful telepath on the planet. She kept to herself while keeping an eye on her family for their protection, especially when she'd learnt 3 years too late what happened to her aunt's then only child. That discovery had led to her beginning to ignore summons from the HPSC and do her own thing, whether it was fighting off international threats or sitting in at UA or other school meetings. So, as one could guess, she was thoroughly annoyed that the HPSC was once again meddling in her family's affairs, especially since they'd had no problem with Izuku and his crew helping to bring down Overhaul. They want to gauge just what kind of power he has. However, some of us at the HPSC would like to see the other students of Class 1C show their mettle as well. So if you have a plan, Mr. Principal, surprise me," the agent said before standing up. "Good day." The HPSC agents left the office. Tatsumaki just clicked her tongue in annoyance while Nidzu shook his head, already having some plans in mind to help Class 1C participate in the sports festival. "Thank goodness the HPSC sent some reasonable members here tonight," Aizawa grumbled. But still, there's another issue to address. Indeed. Depestilus addressed. The students of both 1A and 1C have already been given bounties on the Cross Guild. Everyone grimaced. The Cross Guild was a sort of bounty guild that gauged the notoriety of pro-heroes, vigilantes, pirates, and villains. It was set up as a way to challenge those who thought they could be courageous or strong enough to defeat certain individuals in any of those four groups. Normally, hero students got their bounties around their third year, but this was something else. That just means the villains will have more incentive to consider them dangerous, which means they might be prime targets. Izuku grimly noted. And that means we have to push them harder than ever to be prepared for what comes next, Nizu affirmed. After the meeting had been adjourned, Toshinori stayed behind to have a private meeting with Nizu. Is there an issue, sir? Koshi, I should tell you. A lipid panel of young Tokao Toya's blood was performed. It seems, optimal condition, is multifaceted. Toshinori looked up in interest. How do you mean? Are you saying it does more than heal her wounds or keep her physically fit? The regeneration goes all the way down to the genetic level. Her very DNA is being repaired faster than the free radicals can damage it. Her immune system is supercharged, creating antibodies for any pathogen the second a new one enters her bloodstream. Cancer cells die off before they can fully gestate. Nizu explained. To be frank, Toshi, you couldn't have picked a more perfect vessel for one for all. Her quirk is designed to maintain a perfect state of health. Which means she could handle any other quirk if he ever got a new one, Toshinori said before his eyes widened in realization. She could unlock all of them. All the various quirks attached to one for all. Nizu smiled. Indeed. And she already showed her awakening of danger sense and smokescreen. I have a feeling she will be the one to fully master one for all. The very next day, Toshinori, in his normal skinny form but looking much healthier than before, was talking with his students along with Nizu. Naturally, they were upset about a few things. What do you mean we can't fucking participate in the sports festival? Katsuki barked, his voice shaking the entire school. Scream loud, Kaken. I don't think they heard you in Skypeda. Yato grumbled. Oi. Only Deku calls me that, ban hands. Ahem. Kazuya coughed into his fist, then pointed at their principal. Please continue, sir. Ben motioned. The HPSC currently considers most of you loose cannons. However, the higher-ups are still having Midoriya participate to gauge his power. Nizu frowned. But fear not, my students. I already have a plan in mind to make sure you all participate. Oh, thank goodness. Lilik breathed in relief. Don't keep us in suspense, Mr. Principal. What is it? Rosa asked. Nizu smirked. I'm glad you asked, young Meihei. You see, every sports festival ends with a tournament after the 2 qualifier games are done. However, a few trusted associates in the HPSC have agreed to pull some strings so that the tournament is instead an exhibition contest. Exhibition contest? Ben asked. Yes, each and every one of you will face an opponent of your choosing, even those who may not have made it past the qualifying rounds. Nizu grinned. That way, everyone will have the chance to shine. Good to hear. Marco smiled, click chirping happily. Had me worried for a second there, Teach, Katsuki smirked. I'm gonna kick some ass. However, there's something else we need to address. Do any of you know about the Cross Guild? Toshinori asked. Izuku, the Seraphim, Rebecca and Marco nodded their heads before the symbol of peace sighed and turned to Nizu, gesturing for him to show them. The Chimera nodded grimly and booted up a holographic screen to show that everyone in both Class 1A and 1C had bounties. Holy crap, Rebecca whispered. Yes, apparently, the Cross Guild has recognized your exploits at the USJ. They have already set up small bounties for you and they will only continue to grow the more notoriety you obtain. Nizu explained. It's a grim reminder of the challenges heroes must face, villains and other adversaries who will do anything in their power to defeat or even kill you to obtain the bounties or simply bragging rights. Everyone in Class 1C looked at each other. It was true all of them knew what they were signing up for, but to be recognized by the Cross Guild so early? It was truly shocking. However, Izuku stood up with a determined glare. We'll keep on fighting. We'll grow stronger together and soon, we'll become a crew so mighty, not even the bravest villain will even think to try and claim our bounties. Unknown to the boy, as he spoke, the hints of pressure swept the room, a pressure that was daring, intimidating, but in his current company? Inspiring and empowering as well. Nizu and Toshinori chuckled as one by one, the other students rose up as well. Ben just groaned as he rubbed the back of his head. Hey, what the hell, I already had a bounty on me as the quirk judge anyway. That's the spirit, my students. Toshinori smiled proudly. Smiling even in the face of danger. You're taking after yours truly day after day. Izuku couldn't help but swell in pride at the praise his idol gave him while the other students looked at each other and nodded. No matter what challenges came from this, they'd handle it together, as the mightiest crew of heroes/pirates that ever lived. So, anything we can help you with? Kobe asked as he and the rest of Class 1A had just finished school for the day and were about to head out, only to see a horde of students in front of their classroom door. Are they here to hold us hostage? Minoru cried in panic. I knew it. The villains are already onto us. Kaminari, Sero, open the windows. Kyoka jabbed the midget in the eyes. Relax, you idiot. They're clearly students. Can you not crowd us, please? Uta asked. I understand I have a lot of fans here, but people need space, alright? So, these are the famous students of Class 1A. A bored voice drawled as everyone saw a young man with spiky indigo hair and dark circles under his eyes come out of the crowd. I've been hearing you guys and the students in the new Class 1C hero course are already getting lots of attention. Nice to meet you, Kobe said, offering his hand. I'm Kobe, class rep of 1A. And you are? The boy looked surprised before accepting the handshake. Hitoshi Shinso, General Ed. It's nice to see that you aren't a bunch of egomaniacs like I first suspected. Anything we can do for you, hon? Ellie asked, a hand on her hip. Nothing much, just here to make a declaration of war, Hitoshi explained. See, I wanted to be in the hero course but I failed the entrance exam and had to settle for General Ed. However, if I can perform well enough, I might possibly get a chance to get into the hero course. And you're planning on taking one of our spots, huh? Yamato asked. Well, you better give it your all, because we ain't leaving without a fight. It would be wise to be prepared. Even if Class 1C did help save us, we're not a bunch of pushovers who will keel over to your whims. En pointed out. Hitoshi smirked. Well then, challenge accepted. Well, look who it is. Hitoshi perked an eyebrow as he turned to see a smug-looking blonde with periwinkle eyes walking in. Some of the students of 1A recognized him as Monoma Nato from Class 1B. Can we help you now? Uta asked with a frown, wanting to get home and start working on a new song. Did you need something? And just why do you think I'd need anything from clowns like you? Monoma scoffed. Mostly because you were with everyone else scouting out the competition. Yamato grunted. Monoma grinned. Oh, is this your homeroom? I thought it was the garbage room where I can dump out my class trash. Then where's your garbage? Carrot asked with genuine curiosity. What? You said you had trash, so where is it? Eiichiro asked. Monoma grit his teeth in frustration as the targets of his bane stifled chuckles. How about we start over? I'm Monoma Nato and I'm here on behalf of the clearly superior Class 1B to declare that we will crush you. Well, so did Shinso here. You're not special. Kyoka shrugged, Hitoshi actually nodding in agreement. Do you have anything else to say or are you just gonna stand there and make an ass out of yourself? Sero asked. Monoma growled lowly. He had hoped to instill fear into the students of Class 1A and put them in their place, knowing that Class 1B would outshine them in the sports festival, but here they were, undermining his words. You should probably do what they ask. You are making an ass of yourself. Hitoshi dryly said before turning and leaving, the other students slowly breaking off as well. Of course, how rude of me. It was truly an honor to meet the prestigious Class 1A. Monoma snarked, venom dripping off every word before storming away. Sheesh, what was his deal? Rikido asked. Well, hopefully he leaves Class 1C alone. Okako mused. I mean, no offense to any of us, but... yeah, they defold him in Tuan for that sort of attitude. Momo mused, already imaging Baccarat delivering a humorous beat down the blonde. Prick was the right word, yes? Mina then slid beside Ochako with a knowing smirk on her face. Are you worrying about all of Class 1C, or just a tattooed green-haired hunk with freckles? She asked, delighting in Ochako's embarrassed blush and fumbled words. What, you have bounties now? Vivi gasped as she and Anasa had come by after school to hang out with their fellow recommendation students, except for Shoto, who simply left without another word. Yes, it's very troubling, Momo said, sighed as she looked over Baccarat, Himiko and the other girls' bounty posters. I knew about the Cross Guild from my parents but I never imagined I'd have a bounty only as a first year. And yet your class and Class 1C are rising up to the challenge with hot-blooded courage. Anasa pointed out. Truly you are more than passionate heroes. Still, we'll need to watch our backs from now on, Yamato grumbled. Who knows what kind of jumpy upstart will try taking advantage in an attempt to get the spoils of war for themselves. Ah, most of the villains roaming these parts are small potatoes anyway. Nia brushed off. We can handle it easily. Right, Mifa? Mifa nodded. Izuku is very clear that with all of us working together, we'll become a crew even more notorious and feared than Gold D. Rogers. That's quite a claim, Anasa noted. But a hot-blooded declaration of war on the whole world is one I can respect. See why I like this guy? Makoto smirked as he joined Insana in a one-armed hug with Ben and Yato. Also, sorry about Monoma from earlier, you guys. Juuzo Hononuki of Class 1B said to Momo, Yamato, and En ever since the school year started, he's got this glamorous idea about Class 1B becoming the stars over Class 1A this time around. It's alright, Hononuki. He was merely a nuisance to us earlier, nothing more, Momo said. Right now, we need to be prepared for the sports festival. Bakara pointed out. All of us will need to be at the top of our game in order to show the world we deserve to be at UA. You got that right, sister. Setsuna Tokage of Class 1B grinned. I look forward to seeing what Hilda can do. En mused to himself, looking off in the distance. Ochako was just sitting by the lake, skipping some stones and humming to herself. She was excited for the sports festival to be sure, but then her mind began to wander as she recalled her original reason for becoming a hero. Her parents, exhausted as they were from working back-to-back triple shifts, had taken her to a parade, where several local heroes made an appearance. The sight of these brave, hard-working, costumed people instantly washed away the exhaustion her parents had been feeling, and her parents especially looked truly happy to see them. And in that moment, seeing her parents so happy and relaxed, 6-year-old Ochako Uraka knew what she wanted to be. Her dreams of taking Uraka construction to the stars were now on the back burner. She'd become a hero. And not just a dime a dozen hero, mind you. No, she'd be like the ones her parents idolized, who saved and warmed hearts, alleviated fears and put everyone at ease. And her parents, Go and Kasumi, had then worked even harder so she had the chance, caring for naught but their little girl's happiness. But in an age where so many quirks can do the work of many workers, it was hard. Then a year ago, it all changed. First, a beautiful woman in fur clothing with blonde hair had commissioned the Urakas to build a beachside manor. And not long after that, Hisashi Midoriya, seeing their quality work, hired them to build his mega entertainment center. 2 jobs. That was all it took to take them out of the red and probably have them set for life, with landscaping contracts and other businesses lining up for modest upgrades. Gu and Kasumi were now well rested, able to have breakfast and dinner with their daughter and fully listening to her adventures and classes, delighting in every moment as Ochako was. Ocha-chan. Ochako found herself pulled out of her thoughts by a delightful squeal and a hug around her waist. Looking down, she spied Kamiko Midoriya, beaming happily at her. Oh, hi Kamiko. Ochako smiled, gently kneeling down to high-five the girl as she then saw that, as she'd suspected, her big brother and friend Eri were nearby. The little unicorn shyly waved at Ochako, remembering her from the Mega Center. Hi, Izuku. The green-haired boy smiled sheepishly, not expecting to see Ochako here but delighted to see her anyways, and knowing his crew would tease him for thinking that, as would his parents when Kamiko revealed it. Hi, Ochako. He managed, inwardly demanding why it was harder to talk to Ochako when he could so easily talk with Kohaku, Sumiko, Rebecca and everyone else? Babysitting? Ochako guessed, pointing to the 2 little girls, now playing tag. Sort of, Hilda had run a quick errand and didn't want Eri bored. Izuku explained. And well, Kamiko can be adorably demanding? One way of putting it. Izuku mused, his observation haki then spying Hilda watching the scene from nearby and making motions for him to speak more. Do you live around here? Sort of. Ochako confessed. You see, before your dad hired my folks, a friend who owns a building they built offered me a free semester. So, as my folks work on moving in, yeah. Izuku smiled, grateful Ochako was surrounded by kind and helpful people. Hey, Izuku? Ochako asked. Can I ask you something? Izuku nodded. How do you deal with the wanted posters? She asked. I mean, there's been no trouble yet and going over the other most wanted our bounties are pocket change, but... Izuku's eyes softened. Well. He tried to choose his words carefully. I mean, I spent most of my childhood training on a remote island, surrounded by people stronger than me who encouraged me to grow and become strong alongside them, right after I was called quirkless. With those kinds of people and being away from my parents for so long, I guess I just started living in the moment until I was somewhat close to the level of my mentors and friends. And now that I'm back, I see so many people who want to help and I want to help them. He took a breath. I'm sorry, I don't have an answer. Despite it all, Ochako smiled. I think I get what you're trying to say, she said, then spied Hilda. Well, looks like you're about to be a free boy and I still got to get dinner going. You're welcome to come over if you like. Izuku hurriedly, then clamped his mouth. I mean, if you'd like. Ochako, Eri, Hilda and Kamiko smiled warmly at that, the littlest Midoriya grabbing her brother and Ochako by the hand and then dragging them home, waving goodbye to Eri as she did so. Is Ochako going to marry Izuku? Eri asked Hilda, her sister just smiling and shrugging as they headed home. Chapter 15. Izuku's crew spent the next 2 weeks honing their physical abilities and powers. A welcome surprise came when some of the students of Class 1A came, asking for help in training themselves. Some friendships were made between the two classes, especially between Katsuki and Eiichiro, Sumiko and Momo, Makoto and Minoru, and Kohaku and Koji. At one point, while Izuku and his crew were on a break, the news was on regarding a pressing matter that caught all of their attention. The hero killer Stain strikes again, leaving another 3 pro heroes dead, bringing his tally up to around 60. Police informed us Izuku tuned the rest of the story out while thinking about the man in question. You okay, Tsu? Yato asked while digging into his ear. Are you worried about Stain? Hilda pondered while snacking on a large bag of potato chips. No, it's something else that's bothering me, Izuku said, having seen online forums and news articles about the hero killer's first few kills as well as the few pros he spared but left either traumatized or crippled. It's like he knew what I was gonna do before I did. No matter what I hit him with, he just shrugged it off. It's like he was wearing some kind of invisible armor. I felt this overwhelming pressure that was like a knife of pure fear being stabbed into my heart. I blacked out completely and then he just left when I came to. Izuku's blood had run cold when he first heard this. Because he damn well what these 3 skills could be described, but it was terrifying to think about, but it couldn't be his quirk as that's rumored to be blood related. Izuku had been forced to accept the horrible truth. Stain the hero killer had haki. And not just observation and or armament, he had conquerors. Izuku could only hope that he didn't run into the hero killer unprepared. It would be too dangerous, especially if he did indeed have all 3 flavors of haki at his disposal alongside whatever his quirk was. Oh, if he only knew. With how much training they did, the sports festival arrived in no time. Already various booths were out with all kinds of foods and merch. Mount Lady tried to use her sexiness to get free takoyaki, only to get walloped in the back of the head by Metal Bat of the S-Rankers, who also happened to be her boyfriend. Frickin' dumbass. What kind of self-respecting pro uses exploitation on a regular vendor? He shouted as he paid for order. I'm just trying to get a leg up on midnight. I need the practice. She complained. Why the hell you even competing? Metal Bat grumbled. Everyone knows you're a goddess made flesh and I said that out loud, didn't I? Mount Lady, blushing up a storm and tears in her eyes, grabbed the man she loved and kissed him passionately, at least until Death Arms pried her off and Tatsumaki levitated Metal Bat away, glaring at him the whole time. Confused? Recalling how Chikara caught Mount Lady and Kamui Woods making out a few weeks ago? Well, that did indeed happen, due to a villain's quirk, lust liberation. Pretty self-explanatory. Metal and Mount Lady were still going strong and understood what happened, but Kamui Woods? Well, it turned out his mysterious past was so rough, the sudden onslaught of affection from a beautiful woman had knocked him into what is best described as a pleasure coma. For that reason, the Lurkers were short their most popular member and the S-Rankers had stepped up as security for the festival. Just pay attention to the actual competition, Vigorshi of the SCP Foundation said after everyone had settled in. All eyes are gonna be on Class 1A after the attack on the USJ, after all. This is their chance to prove their success wasn't just a fluke. We should be keeping an eye out for any potential heroes to let in turn with us so they can learn to become real heroes. Tatsumaki said nothing, impatiently waiting to see one particular student. Depending on how he did, she'd try and make peace after all this was done. Ben watched the above scene with a wince as Hilda chuckled and patted him on the back. Aw, don't worry about it. Let's head to the stands and meet with the others. The lifelong friends entered their classmates' waiting room, spying Izuku doing some breathing exercises and wiping sweat away. "Why the worry, Captain?" Yato asked as he guzzled down a juice bottle. "Just realizing this is it," Izuku said. "Me. In UA. On TV." He let out a breath and then felt himself cooling. Marco was using his ice powers to chill him out. "You got this." The bio-android smiled to his friend. "Still feels wrong I'm doing this alone." "And another sign we were right in making you captain." Kazuya beamed. "Now man the hell up and knock some socks off," Rebecca demanded as she literally kicked him out of the room and towards the assembled students. "You're lucky I have Logia and hockey." Izuku managed as he flew through the air, landing right in front of the other students, not realizing until he dusted himself off. "They mean well." "Was that really necessary?" Rosa asked. "Nah, but it was funny as hell," replied Rebecca. "Hell yeah it was." Milo smirked. They and Cyborg then high-fived each other. "Besides, we all have the exhibition round that Nizu had set up," Mifa noted. And at that, the others began to smile viciously and menacingly, imaging the awesome fights that were about to unfold, and how much money they were going to make from Pilar and the gamblers. "This is gonna be so much fun," Katsuki smirked. Explosions erupting from his palms, they have no idea what's coming for them. "Hoyo." Kirby beamed for the hell of it all. "Man, I can't wait to show off my upgraded quirk." Denki grinned. "We, as do I, mon ami." Yuuga beamed. "But the real star is definitely gonna be Midori," Mina said as she turned to Izuku, who was dusting his straw hat off before putting it on his head. "Say, does anyone feel a strong overwhelming pressure?" Minoru asked awkwardly. "I think I feel it too," Momo noted. Only Izuku, Kobe, Yamato, Uda, Carrot, and En could properly attune to the pressure, which was Conqueror's hockey, no doubt. Suddenly, Kobe quickly jumped out of the way when a large figure crashed down where he had previously been standing, shocking everyone. "Damn it, Sensei. What the hell is wrong with you?" Kobe snapped. "Bah ha 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 ha. Please, I had to make sure my protege hadn't been going soft." Everyone gawked as they soon recognized the figure that had arrived so suddenly. He was a man of advanced middle age with black hair and a goatee beard with graying sideburns. He wore a dark double-breasted suit with a white shirt and a red tie, and he wore a Marine Admiral's coat like a cape. "Holy crap, it's Garp the Fist," Eiichiro exclaimed, the rest of Class 1A just as floored as he was. "Well, shoot me silly and call me a shooting corral target." Ellie whistled. Garp was the former number 3 pro hero before going into semi-retirement. Even in the present day, he often helped out heroes in need of assistance with his Herculean strength, and all without a quirk. However, that wasn't the only thing about him. "Grandpa?" Garp smiled as he turned toward Izuku, who had a fond smile of his own. The students of Class 1A looked between them both, trying to process what they just heard before Garp bonked Izuku comically over the head. "Ow. Really? Hockey on your own grandson?" Izuku managed. "Brat," Garp snapped, cutting any more yelling from Izuku, who cowered under the old man's roar. 10 years out at sea, and when you come back, you don't even bother calling. My poor boy Hisashi had to call this old man to say that you were alive, safe and sound. If sweet little Kamiko wouldn't, you'd be beat up. I swear if Kamiko wouldn't realize." Easy on him, Garp-sensei." Kobe worriedly spoke before Garp turned to him next, the pink-haired boy standing straight and saluting out of habit. "And you, Kobe. Don't go thinking that being a pro hero here at UA is a cakewalk. I trained you ever since you were that chubby wide-eyed lad who wanted to prove himself to the world that he could be the next paragon for quirkless heroes everywhere. And I still stand by that, sir." Forgive my asking, Garp, but, what are doing here besides the fact that Midoriya is your grandson and you are Kobe's mentor?" Tenya asked awkwardly. Garp chuckled. "I'm hoping to run into an old pupil of mine. Haven't seen him in 20 years or so. I also heard a little confidential information from old Rodin about a special surprise that the sports festival is hosting this year. Hoping to see it for myself." He then returned to Izuku, who winced and readied for another hit. His crew all ready to jump the old man. That sounded awful in their heads too, but then they saw him hug their captain. "Do your best," was all Garp said as he headed off. "Aw, I was really hoping to wear my costume," Mina sighed as the students of Class 1A got dressed in their gym uniforms. "Well, since we're all wearing them, it's at least fair," Ujiro pointed out, and nodding in agreement. "I sure am worried about what's in store for the first round." Rikido shivered. "No matter what they have in mind, we must persevere," Fumikage stated. It's almost time. Everyone get your game faces on, Tenya exclaimed, causing everyone to tense. I'm a bit nervous about going on live television. Carrot gulped. I'm used to it. Uta shrugged. This'll be fun. Midoriya. Izuku perked up and turned to see Shoto approaching him. What is it, Todoroki? From an objective standpoint, I think it's safe to say that you are stronger than me. I appreciate the compliment, but I fail to see what that has to do with me. I only wish to tell you that I intend to defeat you, regardless of your power, Shoto replied. Know that I will beat you. Yeah, right. Uta snorted under her breath, getting elbowed by Kyoka in the process. What? You honestly think Shoto can beat Izuku? He's the number 2's son. Momo pointed out. Trust me on this, girls, Uta said. Blood doesn't mean squat without the drive to thrive. Oh wow, those could be good lyrics. Saving those. She quickly grabbed a notepad and jotted those down, spying the two boys' conversation. We'll all have to fight to stand out, Todoroki. Let's not let that go unmentioned. Izuku pointed out. Somewhere far, far away yet familiar, Pythagoras aided his fellow satellites in setting up a screen. Just a little more, there we go. A large man with starfish-like hair, large lips and multiple arms, Hachi, said as the screen was set. Cammy, you doing okay over there? Fine for now. A beautiful mermaid with short hair and a t-shirt smiled loving at Hachi as some takoyaki cooked. Cammy. You're burning them. Again. A starfish snapped at her, causing Cammy to scream. Dr. Vegapunk was already seated comfortably, a large tub of popcorn, candies and pops ready as Shaki finished up her cigarette. Ray, they'll be starting soon. Rayleigh, having finished dealing with 4 colorful brothers in what could be described as evil Power Rangers attire, along with their lovely sister and moronic warlord wannabe of a father, chuckled as he made his way over. I'm coming, Shaki. He called, then shooting the invaders a look. If you really want to mess with us? Bring Big Mom, Kaido or Whitebeard. The former pro-hero, known as Dark King, then frowned and grabbed his canteen. I miss you, Roger. He then downed the contents of the object and smirked as he made his way to his lovely wife, who was shooting York a dirty look. Shaki, why is York so scared of you? Dr. Vegapunk asked. No idea. She lied with a smile as she poured some pop. Hachan? Drink? Thank you. The octopus man smiled as he helped Kemi salvage the takoyaki and Rayleigh took Shaki into his lap. Now was time for the big event, and it was obvious Present Mike was hyped up. Welcome everyone to the UA Sports Festival. Are you ready? He crowed out, inciting cheers from the gathered crowds. We're tuned in live to what may be the biggest UA Sports Festival ever. Our students are coming out to the big stage, so everybody show your support. Class 1A were the first ones out of the gate, Izuku staying behind because he knew he wasn't part of their class. Besides, he was a special guest on his own. First up, they're no strangers to danger, here's the hero course of Class 1A. Hee, guess some of my fans are in the crowd, Uta giggled as she noticed how loud some of the spectators were cheering. Next up, they may not have had as much time in the spotlight but they're still chock full of talent. It's hero course Class 1B. The students of Class 1B came out next, led by Vivi and a girl with orange hair and a side ponytail with teal eyes named Itsuka Kendo. After that, it's General Ed course classes 1D, 1E, and 1F, support course classes 1G, 1H, and 1I, and finally business course classes 1 Joule, 1K, and 1 Liter. Geez, that's not biased at all. Kyoka sarcastically commented. Oh, is that Shinso over there? Kobe noted as he noticed Hitoshi in the Class 1D crowd. Wait, what about Class 1C? You know, Midori's class? Mina pointed out. It's confidential, Momo explained. That's all I can really say at the moment. And last but certainly not least, he's the pirate captain of a fearless crew who came to Class 1A's aid when heinous villains threatened their lives at the USJ. It's our special guest contestant, Izuku Midoriya. That was Izuku's cue to step out into the stadium, the crowds all going wild and many all staring with awe and anticipation as the brim of his straw hat covered his eyes. Silence everyone. Midnight called out from the main podium as she waved her whip. Izuku here has some special words to say to us all. He is the one who has his eyes set on changing the world of heroism. All ears tune in. Izuku nodded his head and stepped up to the podium. Midnight gave him a maternal pat on the head as he bowed respectfully to her before taking the mic. I'll keep this brief. A minute ago, Present Mike introduced all the first-year classes, and the way he was so dismissive of the non-hero course classes really pissed me off, Izuku stated, shocking pretty much everyone there except Garp, who was grinning in anticipation at the verbal ass kicking Izuku was about to give out. Also grinning were Izuku's crewmates, who were watching from a special VIP guest room set up by Nizu to keep the surprise of their reveal hidden until the right moment. Also in the crowd was a large man in a trench coat with a fedora covering his head, accompanied by a few other fellows. The only discernible feature of the giant of a man was his crescent white mustache. Grrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrr Can anyone here in a single word describe every student here, myself included? Because I know the perfect word that I can use to describe every student here. The word is rival. This caused everyone's eyes from the students to the spectators, teachers, and pro heroes to widen in shock and surprise. I see students from every course from hero to general ed ready to give everything they have to win. With that alone, I'm more than happy and honored to call them my rivals, and when someone, a teacher no less, dismisses a rival of mine so easily. Forgive me language, but it pisses me off. Izuku's speech was met with pure silence even as he handed the microphone back to Midnight, who looked lost in thought. However, the second he reached the steps, the stadium erupted in a deafening roar of cheers and applause. Short but truly inspiring. En smiled as Tenya and Eiichiro were moved to tears. Damn, if he didn't already have eyes for Ochako, I'd smooch him right on the mouth. Ellie smirked. Yeah, wait, what? Ochako squeaked out, having heard what the rotund girl had said. Hitoshi smiled from his place in Class 1D's group. I was expecting some kind of condescending remark, but what he said, it's got me thinking about why I really want to be a hero. Through all this, Present Mike was muttering apologies into his microphone with promises not to do it again, Aizawa giving his best friend a nasty look of his own. You know, Midoriya has a pretty goddamn valid point. There's a lot of students in general ed, support, and even business who are hidden gems in the making. I said I'm sorry, okay? Good, cause your mother is on the line. Eraserhead smirked as he let someone else join the conversation. Is my baby boy being a bully on international TV? I'ma give his ass a whooping. A wonderful speech, and with that it's time to begin the first round. Midnight proclaimed as the randomizer started spinning. Soon it stopped. Our first event shall be obstacle course race. The course is treacherous and stretches 4 kilometers around the outside of the stadium. The only rule in this race is that you are forbidden from leaving the racetrack. Beyond that, do whatever you feel you have to reach the end. Contestants, take your places. The red starting gate headlights turn on, and the students all standing at the ready. This is it. Izuku thought to himself. Ready? Do your best, Izuku. His crew thought together from the VIP room. Set. This is gonna be fun. Kobe smiled with an optimistic competitive spirit. Go. The sports festival had begun. Chapter 16. A giant shockwave suddenly blew multiple students back, with a gaggle of them racing forward despite the sudden outburst. What the heck was that? Every student was knocked off their feet. What could have caused that? Present Mike yelled in surprise and confusion, which was echoed by many watching. That would be some of the more problematic children getting ahead of everyone else. Aizawa dryly said. The Erasure Hero's words rang true as the camera showed Izuku, Kobe, Yamato, N, Carrot, Vivi, and Anasa already exiting the tunnel at great speeds and making their way through the course. Following close behind them was what appeared to be a red-furred cheetah, followed by Ellie riding on a literal dirt bike, as in a motorcycle made out of the ground and some rocks using her quirk. Incredible. I guess those kids wanted to start things with a bang. Present Mike said, and the audience roared with cheers. That, and they recognized the first obstacle and wanted to avoid it, Aizawa added, confusing Present Mike and the audience. I knew Vivi-chan and the others wouldn't hold anything back. A girl with orange hair and a ponytail and amber-colored eyes with metal prosthetic arms and a dog-like creature standing on its hind legs by her side. That just goes to show how dedicated to justice they want to be as future heroes. As everyone else ran for the entrance, they immediately discovered the first obstacle that Aizawa was talking about. The gate was becoming crowded as everyone tried to push each other through. You're in my way. Stop shoving, damn it. Hey, who pinched my butt? So that's what you meant, show. It's an obstacle that's not an obstacle. Present Mike shouted with Aizawa nodding in agreement. Right, the kids in the lead probably figured out what would happen, so they made sure to avoid it. Back with the students, they were trying to figure out how to get out of this when suddenly a torrent of ice blasted through the tunnel and out came Shoto. Don't think I'll let you win that easily, Midoriya, Shoto exclaimed as he created a large amount of ice for him to skate forward on. This had the effect of leaving most of the other students frozen at their feet, keyword being most. Nice try, Todoroki, Momo yelled, riding a moped with Jiro holding onto her. Yeehaw, Eiichiro cried as he three burst from the ice, undeterred from the chill. Magnifique. Yuuga crowed as he fired lasers from his feet to zip above everyone else. I ain't falling behind. Minoru cackled triumphantly as he tossed his hairballs and bounced off them. Run, boy, run, this world was not made for you. Uta sang as she manipulated the ice Shoto made to form a board for her to ride on. Guess I underestimated them a little too much, Shoto muttered before shaking his head and facing forward. He didn't have time to worry about them right now, all Shoto was concerned about right now was catching up to Izuku in particular. With Izuku and the others in the lead, the red-furred cheetah had caught up and had a wild grin on its face. Vivi seemed to recognize who the cheetah was as she rode on a giant scorpion made of sand using her quirk, Oasis, which allowed her to harness aspects of deserts in a manner similar to magic. You're certainly in good spirits, Nimona. The cheetah laughed. You got that right, Vi. Can't be left behind everyone else. Heads up, y'all. Ellie called out from behind as the pack leaders quickly jumped out of the way to avoid a metallic limb. The ones in the lead have reached the first true obstacle. The Robo Inferno. Present Mike shouted and the crowd erupted into cheers ready to see some action. Holy shit, are those the 0-pointers from the entrance exam? Uta exclaimed as she jumped off her ice platform. Don't worry, I got this, Izuku smirked as he held his hand up. Repel. Using the power of the magnet fruit, Izuku blasted all the robots back, some of them crashing into each other and being destroyed in the process. You're certainly powerful to no end, En noted with a chuckle as he sprouted frostmoth wings, allowing him to fly while leaving a snowy powder that froze some of the robots that avoided being totaled by Izuku's attack. Thanks for the free loot, Izu baby. Ellie smiled as she used her quirk to construct various tools from the robot's remains. No problem, Ellie. Izuku called back before putting a finger to his lips and pulling it back where a giant heart appeared and drew back as Izuku pulled his arm back like one would do when they're about to shoot an arrow. I don't know what Midoriya is doing, but he really should be moving for oh my god. Present Mike finished as he and everyone grew shocked as dozens of pink heart-tipped arrows flew from the giant heart and hit every remaining robot, turning them all to stone. Show off, Inasa laughed. But that was a truly hot-blooded display of passion if I ever saw it. Don't underestimate the love fruit. Izuku smirked. As Izuku and the other pack leaders continued on ahead, the rest of 1A, 1B, and other students began to catch up. At first, they thought with Izuku destroying most of the robots, they'd have an easier time getting past. Sadly, they thought wrong. Target acquired. It was an entire new wave of bots ready to stop the students who were currently freaking out. Oh, come on. Seriously? I thought Midoriya took care of all the bots. How can UA even afford all this? Ball of Justice. A massive spiked flail smashed into one of the robots, toppling it over as the flail returned to the orange-haired girl and her dog, one of her prosthetic arms having transformed into a large gauntlet to carry it. And it looks like Surya Ubiquitous of Class 1B is here to show off as well. Present Mike called out. Her quirk, Hecatoncheires, is connected to that pet dog of hers. It's a sentient symbiotic quirk similar to Tokoyami's Dark Shadow that can fight on Ubiquitous' behalf or equip her with various weapons. Aizawa explained. Revelry in the dark. Fumikage noted as he used Dark Shadow to scale up one of the robots, Sero following close behind with his tape. Shoto threw down a layer of ice that froze many of the robots in place, causing many students to cheer until it was realized that the robots were being thrown off balance, causing them to fall. Unfortunately, as he was about to move on, Shoto heard a large crumbling sound as a shadow covered him and his eyes widened in shock. It turns out all the robots he knocked off place crashed into the statues, causing them to crumble, raining down stone on the students. And there you go. Midoriya knew that there would be chaos, so he turned them into stone to add an extra obstacle. Aizawa explained with many nodding in understanding. Damn, that was cold-blooded, Midoriya. Inasa noted as he looked behind. Back with the students, they were cursing Todoroki having made things harder for them when Monoma noticed something. Hey, where the hell is Class 1A? They're over there. Running through the robots. A boy who looked like he could be mistaken for Eijiru's long-lost twin named Tetsu yelled to the shock of the rest, who turned and saw it was true. Class 1A was running through the robots while getting rid of any who got in their way with various methods. Yuuga fired multiple laser bullets with his fingers while striking dazzling poses, Eiichiro tore through while hardening his body, Tenya crashed through at high speeds, Shoji multiplied his arms to tear the robots apart, Rikido used his sheer strength to throw a robot over his head by its fist, and Ujiro smashed them with his tail. Momo created a shield made out of titanium alloy with a bladed edge that let her defend and attack at the same time, while Denki lobbed what he dubbed shock grenades that attached to the robots before exploding in massive bursts of electricity, while Kyoka used her jacks to pump her heartbeat into them, overloading each bot. Ochako and Tsuyu teamed up to get past the robots alongside Fumikage and Sero, while Minoru scaled them with his sticky hairballs. Toru simply turned invisible while Koji called in flocks of pigeons to block the sensors of the robots, and Mina skated on acid she produced, thanks to tiny holes in her shoes. Our classmates are so cool. Carrot beamed as she saw this. Incredible. All of Class 1A had gotten through like it was nothing. Shota, your students are incredible. Present Mike shouted over the crowd, cheering at the awesome display of quirks. Hey, those big bots may look scary, but at the end of the day, a well-placed hit from even a quirkless individual with the right training can take him down, Garp chuckled. Tatsumaki nodded. You got that right, Grandpa. Class 1A knows not to hesitate. They've learned that if you do so for a single second it could cost you everything. They've already gone through the terror and horror of the unknown and managed to get out of it all on their own. That knowledge and experience is what's pushing them forward. Aizawa explained. Guess everyone's starting to catch up, Vivi noted as the pack leaders had stopped at a large chasm with multiple platforms connected by ropes. Should we wait for 'em? Nimona asked as she transformed back into her true form, a short, slightly chubby girl with short pink hair with long side bangs, pink eyes, and pale skin. She had multiple silver earrings in both ears, with a star-shaped one in her left ear, and studs. I feel like they're catching up pretty well, Ellie noted as she looked behind to see that Class 1A and most of Class 1B were indeed coming in close. We've reached the second obstacle. If you fall, you're out, so you might have to crawl, it's the fall. Present Mike announced. Why make it easy? Izuku chuckled as he used the bird fruit model, Phoenix, to sprout flaming teal wings around his arms and fly over the chasm. Yosh. Let's follow Midoriya's hot-blooded example. Anasa cheered as he picked up wind underneath him to carry himself across. Where's the fun in just flying? And added before turning the lower half of his body into a Seviper tail and slithering himself across the ropes connecting the platforms like a fluid. You guys. Vivi shook her head as she formed a tornado of sand and wind around her and flew after them. Come on, Ellie. Nimona cheered as she jumped over the chasm and turned into a red-feathered eagle. Right behind you, Ellie said as she used a grappling hook constructed from some of the robot parts to fire the giant hand as the hook to pull herself across. Damn, those kids are just cheesing things, aren't they? Present Mike noted. The rest of Class 1A and 1B managed to catch up and quickly began making their way over the fall in their own ways. Tsuyu made a great leap and effortlessly landed on one of the tight ropes, clinging to it with ease. This is my chance to show what my super cute babies can do, laughed a girl with pink dreadlocks and bronze-colored eyes with targeting reticles in them as she fired off grapple lines attached to her waist, and flew across the pit using a set of hover soles. Always need to make yourself the direct part of the spotlight, huh Hatsune? Snarked a girl with cotton candy pink hair tied up in two large puffs, which she detached from her head and clung onto to fly across, the hair puffs seemingly coming to life and flying like drones. Choo-choo? Lilik gasped as she recognized the girl with the hair puffs. You know her, Lilik? Sumiko asked. We went to the same middle school together. Lilik smiled. I didn't think she was a student here at UA. Ah, yes, Chaichiri Panlunch, part of support course Class 1H along with Mei Hatsune. Those two show that the genius builders of the support course aren't to be underestimated either. Chikara noted. What is she doing with her hair? Is that her quirk? Hilda asked. Lilik nodded. Choo-choo's quirk is Power Puff, which is a mutant type that gives her those two hair puffs. She can transform them into various tools such as boxing gloves, flails, attack drones, cheerleading pom-poms. She even can use them as pillows. Must be a nightmare at the barber, though. Kohaku noted as Lilik just giggled. Back with the pack leaders, Izuku noticed something that forced him to alert the rest of his friends. Heads up, guys. There's a minefield ahead. What? Kobe gawked. Is UA trying to kill us? Actually, this isn't as bad as the training Garp put me through. Big deal. Let's clear a path, Yamato said as he raised his club. Yomagami Power Slash. Swinging his club down, Yamato sent out a line of magical ink that transformed into a real-life physical slash attack that cut through the ground, and detonated all of the mines instantaneously. "That's cutting the knot," Aizawa noted from the announcer's booth as Present Mike sulked. "Man, your kids are no fun, show." Izuku and the other pack leaders soon made their way through the destroyed minefield and back to the stadium. Izuku made it first, Kobe got second, Yamato got third, Vivi got fourth, Inasa got fifth, Carrot got sixth, Nimona got seventh, Uda got eighth, and got ninth, and Ellie got 10th. "Aw yeah." Nimona cheered as she gave Vivi a high five. "You guys were amazing." Surya cheered as she caught up to everyone else along with the rest of Class 1A and 1B. "Even with my speed, I only placed 13th, Tenya sighed, wiping sweat from his brow. "A humbling experience if I ever had one." "Man, the hero course doesn't mess around." Hitoshi noted, having placed 27th. "Ugh, you better not be touching my butt," Mineta, Momo snapped as Minoru piggybacked on her with his hairballs. "Shame that I couldn't, but even I believe in winning more than admiring those heavenly curves," the dwarfish boy said before hopping off and walking away. "That was amazing, Midoriya." Ochako cheered as she gave Izuku a hug, causing him to go red as Kobe chuckled playfully. "Look at that, choo-choo. We passed." Mei cheered as she gave her fellow support course student a high five. As for Shoto, he was breathing heavily with both anger and frustration as he had ended up placing all the way down in 40th place. This was mainly due to the fact that after using his ice so much to avoid the free-falling stone robots, crossing the fall, and making up lost ground in the minefield, he was slowed and was unable to prevent several people from passing him. At the Midoriya household, they were all celebrating along with the Bakugas and Hilda and Rose's families. Inko was crying tears of happiness and hugging Mitsuki, Hisashi doing the same with Masaru, while Iri and Kamiko jumped up and down together while chanting, "He did it! He did it! He did it!" Amon smirked as she went on her phone to contact her family on Izuku's success as well as the performance of some of the others. "Maybe these children can help Mama," she mused, more hopeful than she had been in years. In a dark room, Tomura was watching the sports festival along with the rest of his crew. The pale blue-haired young man sneered at Izuku with a mixture of annoyance and respect on his face. "Damn that Midoriya, he really is all the hype." Shiki chuckled. "His power exceeds your own right now, my boy, but don't worry. With my guidance, you will be ready to achieve your true destiny." As Shiki said this, he held onto a stone mask with a red crystal on its forehead behind his coat. It would be what Tomura needed in order to match Izuku's own sheer variety of powers, but the young villain was not ready yet. He would need more training before he could handle the power this mask gave him. Ha ha ha. Those are my boys. Kicking ass and showing no mercy. Garp was laughing his head off from his seat, stuffing rice crackers down his throat and downing a big gulp. Tatsumaki, taking a brief break from security, sat next to him, her eyes focused on her young cousin. She had to admit, wherever he'd been and whatever kind of power he had, it was damn impressive. Hell, her grandpa's student Cody was impressive as well. An, the misname is intentional and accidental on Tatsumaki's part. The tornado's attention was interrupted by the sound of hoots, hollers and the clicking of heels. And her mood dampened when she realized the reason. "Sorry I'm late, Grandpa." The speaker was an exceptionally beautiful young woman, tall with pale skin and short hair, wearing a long, form-fitting dress and a furred coat as she smiled, sitting next to Garp and ignoring Tatsumaki. Her hero name was Blizzard, a third-year UA student who was already picking up attention by essentially making all but 3 of her classmates follow her in building their own agency. But she also had her birth name. Fubuki. Garp beamed, scooping the woman up and giving her a hug. The normally stoic woman smiled and let her grandfather have this, then shooting an annoyed glare at Tatsumaki. Brat. Did I mention that Fubuki was also Tatsumaki's younger sister? Girls, behave. Garp frowned, raising a fist which suddenly took on a dark sheen. "Sorry, Grandpa," the sisters said together, turning their attention to the race. "What did I miss?" Fubuki inquired as she graciously took a rice cracker. "Our cousin is making a name for himself." Tatsumaki smirked. "Humiliated Mike when he insulted the other years, decimated the bots, leading the charge, and like you, baby sis? He's building his own crew." That reveal made Fubuki feel a great deal of pride in Izuku. Last time she'd seen him he'd been a sweet, baby-faced little boy who dreamed of becoming like All Might. Now he was a grinning, calculating badass that she just knew was going to beat All Might's records. Well, good thing he takes after me and not you. The hell you saying? He's easily on my level. Tatsumaki rose an eyebrow. I meant in people skills, dwarf. The older sister cringed. If Grandpa was not here and we were on international TV. She growled. I see you installed your family's love for overkill in your student, you crazy monkey. An amused voice cut in suddenly. Whoever this was, it caused Garp to give a wide grin as he turned to see who it was. Never thought I'd hear a hero use the term overkill, let alone the prestigious number 2. I guess that proves fighters are made of tougher stuff, right, Enji? There behind the 3 was the number 2 pro hero just behind All Might, the flame hero, Endeavor, real name Enji Todoroki, and the father of Shoto. Back when he was a student at UA, Enji had been mentored by Garp, who was still the number 3 pro hero at the time. Enji had taken to Garp's training with vigor and passion, never letting himself fall and always picking himself back up. So, how are the wife and kids? Garp asked. Is Ray doing okay? Endeavor frowned. Ray is getting better. The doctors say that she will be released with a clean bill of health soon, but the scars are still there. Garp's usual grin turned into a frown as he understood exactly what his old pupil was referring to. Tatsumaki just gave the flame hero a nasty look before standing up and walking off. I need to get a drink. She then made her way to the concession stand, fighting the anger welling up inside her. There had been a time where she'd liked Enji. He was smart, relentless and always put beyond his all into all he did. But then she saw the real him, someone who, like so many other wannabers, only saw hero work as a chance to grab power and prove themselves better than anyone else. Even to the point of harming others, be they other heroes or their own family. Spying a ramen stand, Tatsumaki decided to eat there, accidentally bumping into and apologizing to someone as she sat herself down. The tall man with a moon-like mustache, who just bought himself a gourd of sake and some katsudon, observed the sayak from afar, a sad smile on his face before he returned his interest to the festival, in particular, the one boy who Rayleigh Egg had taken on. Chapter 17. After the race had concluded, Izuku and all of Class 1A and 1B had managed to qualify for the next round with Hitoshi, Mei, and Chuchu also managing to pass as well. Only the top 54 get to move to the next round, but don't worry if you didn't make the cut. We've prepared other opportunities for you to shine. But right now is where the real fun begins. Midnight announced. This next round will provide you with the chance to really thrust yourself into the limelight. I'm starting to get why she's the 18+ hero, Yamato muttered. And our next competition is. Midnight called out as the roulette spun before stopping on one of the events. The cavalry battle. Ah, man. I'm terrible at those kinds of battles. Denki groaned. I've never been in one before, is it fun? Carrot asked Uda, who nodded. I've seen them before and they do look pretty fun. Not sure how the superhero version will play out, but let's listen to what Miss Midnight has to say. Now the rules are simple. Students will team up in teams of 2 to 4 with a rider and horses and try and remove headbands from other competitors. Each headband will have the complete total of points each member of each team earned during the race, which will be given in a moment. Midnight explained. Now if your headband is taken, don't be discouraged because that's not the end. Keep going until time is up. Headbands must be worn on the neck or up. There are only 2 ways to truly be eliminated, by purposely trying to knock another team down or if a rider leaves his horses and lands on the ground. Other than that, it's anything goes. Seems simple enough. Hitoshi noted to himself. Just need to find the right team to get by. And now for the points, we go up by increments of 5, starting with 5 points at 54th place, 10 points at 53rd place, 15 points at 52nd place, and so forth. However, first place will have a whopping 10 million. Midnight finished with everyone gaining predatory looks. It's not easy at the top, is it? Oh, great, now everyone will be gunning for me. This would be a chance for anyone to go from 0 to 60 in the final round. Izuku groaned. Still, despite this setback, the green-haired boy gave a vicious grin, as if daring everyone to try and take his points from him. You want the 10 million so bad? Come and take it. Even Shoto took a step back at the look Izuku was giving off while Yamato just gave a grin of his own, Kobe also having a competitive smile. No fear, that's what I like about you, Midoriya, Yamato laughed. This is gonna be something else. Vivi muttered. That grin. Surya noted as she turned to Nimona while holding Koro in her arms. That is the grin of a demon. Yeah, I like it. The shape-shifting girl grinned, her teeth turning razor sharp like a shark. With that, it's time to begin. Everyone has 15 minutes to find their teams. Ready? Begin, Midnight yelled while waving her whip. Everyone scrambled in a panic to try and come up with any kind of plan. Izuku just closed his eyes calmly, not moving from his spot before opening up his eyes to see Ochako standing in front of him. Deku, I'm gonna join your team. Deku? Ochako blushed. Sorry, I heard Bakugo call you that a while ago and I just thought it sounded like Takeru. You know, you can do it? Izuku also blushed before smiling, thankfully. The sheer adorableness of that smile made Ochako fluster even more before Mei zoomed over. Hey, Mr. 10 Mil. Let me in on your team. I need coverage for my super cute babies. Your babies? Izuku and Ochako asked flatly. Yeah, my inventions. They're my pride and joy. Mei beamed. I wanted Choo-Choo to join with me too, but she told me she was gonna branch out to others. Well, we just need one more then. Ochako guessed as she looked around, only to gasp when Ellie strutted over. Hey, Freckles. Heard you needed a fourth on your party. Well, let's just say I'm all for having a good team, Sugar Bear. Glad to have you with us, Ellie. Izuku smiled. Hey, Shinso, was it? Kobe spoke to Hitoshi, who perked up as he turned to the pink-haired boy. What do you want? I was wondering if you wanted to join my team. I managed to get Momo and Fumikage with me, but we need a fourth to fill in the gap. Hitoshi was surprised and more than a little touched by this offer before smiling as he nodded his head. Besides, Kobe would definitely help him get to the final round, where he could really show what he could do to the world. Okay, you guys, Yamato said. We don't need to take the 10 million points. Our points together will be more than enough. That said, if some of the other teams try to go for us, we waste them. Yeah. Mina, Carrot, and Uta cheered. This should be fun. A shame Hilda couldn't participate. And noted, having formed a team with Minoru, Tsuyu, and Shoji. Monoma sneered at Izuku's team as well as the teams formed by most of Class 1A. Everyone's foaming at the mouth for what Class 1A will do. Why are they stars? The only difference between us and them is that they fought a couple of villains. Just because we're Class 1B doesn't mean we're second-rate. Or that we can't win this whole thing. Alright, ladies, and Anasa-kun. Vivi began as Anasa, Suryu, and Nimona formed a team with her. We gotta keep our eye out for Izuku. He's got the 10 million points, but so long as we keep our points close, we're guaranteed a spot in the finals. Yosh. I hope to see what hot-blooded tactic Midoriya pulls to achieve ultimate victory. Anasa cheered before pausing when he noticed Shoto nearby and glared. Anasa-kun? Suryu asked in concern, snapping the Aeromancer out of his trance. Sorry, I was distracted. Speaking of Shoto, he was planning a full frontal assault with Denki and Tenya. Choo-Choo had swung over and offered to join as well, having a few registered support items of her own that she could use with her Power Puff quirk. Kaminari, you take the front, with you there we've got an effective offense and defense. Pan Lunch and Ida, you'll use your quirks to throw the other teams off balance without knocking them over. Shoto explained with his team nodding in understanding. Oh yeah. With my electricity and your fire and ice, we're guaranteed to move on. Denki grinned before pausing. Well, as long as we avoid Midoriya, that is. That's not happening. I swore never to use my left side in battle. Shoto explained with a dark expression, much to the shocked faces of his team. So you plan on just using your ice for this game? Don't you think that's a little reckless? Remember, it's not just your ass on the line here. Choo-Choo pointed out with Denki and Tenya nodding in agreement. It will be enough, Shoto answered shortly. Even when we go up against Midoriya and his group. Are you absolutely sure it's wise to go against Midoriya with half your power? Tenya called out. Remember your battle in the mock trials when we first started school? My ice will be enough. It will. Shoto told them before muttering the last bit to himself as if to reassure himself. In the stands, Garp was grinning with anticipation along with Tatsumaki while Fubuki was holding onto a little flag with Izuku's name on it, smiling more demurely while Endeavor watched with interest, keeping his attention on both Shoto's team and Izuku's team. I have a feeling my grandson is going to commit a massacre that will leave very few survivors, Garp chuckled. And what will that say about the survivors? Endeavor asked. Garp smirked at his old pupil. That means they're already on the right track to standing alongside him. Izuku's crew were waiting in the VIP room, having been joined by Toshinori, who was now in his regular skinny form as he felt more comfortable with his students rather than his adoring masses. I have a feeling young Midoriya is going to pull a trick that will leave all the other teams sprawling. Ben chuckled. Oh, I can't wait to see the looks on their faces when that happens. Come on, at least root for Kobe-kun or Yamato-kun. Makoto pointed out. Oh no, I fully expect them to be some of the few survivors. I kinda hope to see more of what En can do, Hilda noted. Rosa grinned. Oh, singling him out in particular? How so, Hilda? Hilda's chubby cheeks flustered bright red as she stammered a response, only getting a playful giggle from not just Rosa, but Sumiko, Bakara, Mifa, Himiko, and even Kobani. Vigorshi, Mount Lady, Metal Bat, and Death Arms were currently in the staff break room, eagerly waiting for the cavalry battle to start. The sports festival isn't really about how prepared the students are to be heroes. It's more about simulating the competition they face if they go pro. Death Arms noted. This country's overrun with agencies. If you want to put food on the table, you need to be able to stand out from the other agencies. That's such a sad way of looking at our jobs, Mount Lady said. Metal Bat rolled his eyes. Says the woman who's never had a problem stealing the spotlight. It's not like heroes never work together or even combine agencies. Vigorshi pointed out. The first round was all about the competitive side of the hero business. The second round is more about the cooperative side. Death Arms nodded. Yeah. Every point you score counts for your whole team. Which means finding a good combination of quirks and physical ability is vital. Hope you're all happy with your teams. Present Mike called out. And with one final countdown, let's get this party started. 3, 2, 1. Begin. You guys remember the plan? Izuku asked his team, who nodded, all extremely happy with it. We're ready, Deku. It's perfect. Ochako told him from his right. This is gonna be bad. Ass. Ellie smirked. I knew joining up with you was the right idea. Mei beamed. Most of the team started rushing toward Izuku's team, with only Kobe, Yamato, Vivi, and En's teams hanging back. Izuku simply smirked as his hands became coated in flaming darkness via the dark fruit, as he slammed both palms into the ground. Black abyss. The other team stopped in their assault, shocked and confused as to what was happening as darkness covered the ground of the arena. Vivi's eyes widened in shock as she and Anasa formed a combined wind cyclone with their quirks to lift their team safely off the ground. Yamato transformed into his Inokami form and slammed his club into the ground. Hanagami, Bloom. A massive tree lifted Yamato's team safely into the air, the darkness snaking harmlessly around it. Kobe also quickly moved and lifted all of his teammates onto his shoulders, having a feeling at what Izuku was planning on doing. Is this allowed? Momo gasped in surprise. Don't worry, we're still together, Kobe reassured. Better stay away from that darkness. En calmly noted before forming his arms into giant bright multicolored wings. Ho-Oh wings. Tsuyu, Shoji, and Minoru all clung onto En as he lifted them into the air away from the darkness before it could reach them. For those unlucky enough to be caught in the darkness forming underneath their feet, hands of darkness shot out of the ground and grabbed every one of them except for Kobe. Hey! I can't use my quirk, Sero exclaimed, shaking his elbows in alarm. This was happening all over the field as the teams lost the ability to use their quirks. Kobe was the only one unaffected since he had no quirk to lose in the first place. I see what you did there, Kobe-kun. Momo noted as Kobe kept the dark hands from grabbing her, Fumikage, and Hitoshi. Look at that. Midoriya has taken away the quirks of most of the other teams. Talk about a crippling blow. Present Mike exclaimed with the audience cheering in excitement. Hatsune, your turn, Izuku said as Mei grinned. Let me show you all what my super cute babies can do. The other teams that were caught in the darkness were soon bombarded with blasts from cannons that Mei had been carrying with her. The projectiles fired exploded into various colorful smoke blasts. Allow me to introduce you to my patented non-lethal explosive launcher. Mei announced like an infomercial host. They fire powerful capsules that explode into concussive blasts that also double as smoke cover. And they also look super colorful as well. Hey, always gotta make an advertisement out of it, Choo-Choo chuckled as Shoto's team charged ahead. Part of me wants to help them. Carrot noted from her spot in the tree Yamato created. No, this is how they learn. Uda casually said. If only I had a tub of popcorn with me. What should we do, Kobe? Momo asked. Kobe hummed. We're going to need to go after the other teams. I'll keep carrying you guys and we'll see if we can snag a few of the other team's headbands before they try going after us. Oh yeah. Dark Shadow cheered. So now what? Minoru asked En. Simple, we swoop in and swipe some points for ourselves. Everyone else went for Izuku because he's at the top, but they forget that there are 16 slots in the finals, Vivi noted. Why go for the top right now when we can fight for it when it really counts? We shouldn't just stick to the sidelines, though. Anasa pointed out. Let's show them how hot-blooded our passion is. Oh yeah. Nimona grinned, turning into a cobra and wrapping snugly over Vivi's shoulders. I'll snatch. Koro. Activate Justice Multi-Grappler, Suryu commanded. The dog nodded and bit Suryu's left arm, transforming it into a mass of steel cables that snaked around. What followed was a madhouse of destruction as Izuku helped Mei continue firing on everyone with the power of the shoot fruit, to mimic her invention. En's team swooped around, Suyu snagging a few headbands with her tongue. Kobe ran around while Momo created handheld cannons to fire from and Dark Shadow flew around, making grabs for whatever headbands he could reach. Suryu reached out with her cables while Nimona made bites in her cobra form to snatch up any headbands off of unsuspecting opponents. After a good 5 minutes, all of the teams that weren't Izuku's, En's, Kobe's, Yamato's, and Vivi's were stripped of all their headbands. So now what? Uta asked. I mean, we still have a good few minutes before the battle is over. Well, no time like the present, Izuku said. You guys have earned the right to come at me and my team. A fitting honor indeed, Midoriya. Kobe smiled as he charged forward, still carrying his team. Yosh. Make way for our hot-blooded spirit, Midoriya. Anasa called out as Vivi formed scorpion tails made of sand that snaked around her wrists like whips. This should be fun. En smiled as he swooped down, Minoru starting to throw his hairballs. You're not gonna keep us out of the game. Yamato grinned, Uta having used her quirk to manipulate the tree so their team could ride on it like a giant surfboard. Here they come. Ochako called out. Let's have some fun. Izuku smiled excitedly. None of the 5 remaining teams had managed to snag each other's headbands, all of them having been evenly matched. With the cavalry battle over, the students all gathered in front of midnight. First, let's give a big hand to teams Midoriya, Kobe, En, Yamato, and Vivi for managing to stay in the game, even with all those crazy powers flying around. The audience and even some of the students cheered, even if they were peeved at being on the wrong end of Izuku's devil fruit powers as well as the insane powers of the other teams that stayed in. However, you all don't need to worry your cute little heads. Our dear principal has a special treat in store for the final event. For this event, we need 24 qualifying contestants and right now, we have 18. We just need 6 more. Midnight explained. And for that, we're going to have a round 2 of round 2. Same teams, same time, same everything. The only difference is that the 5 winning teams will not be participating, and thus their points will not be in circulation. Sound good, everyone? The audience in response loudly cheered a confirmation. One would think they wouldn't want to watch the same game back to back, but considering how exciting the first one was, they were more than happy to watch. The students were also nodding ready to go. They hardly wasted any energy and were more than able to go again. Most were discussing strategy or psyching themselves up now that they knew the big powerhouses wouldn't be in the game. I protest. I demand Izuku Midoriya and his team be disqualified for cheating. The stadium went silent as students and audience alike turned to the one who shouted, which turned out to be Monoma. Garp scoffed from the stands. Of course, there's always one. This ought to be good. Tatsumaki grumbled, already feeling a headache forming. Monoma, what the hell is this? Itsuka demanded. Isn't it obviously kendo? Those Class 1A scumbags cheated. Apparently, they thought with that bastard Midoriya they could get away with it, and they were right if the umpire's lack of action is anything to go by. He finished with what he thought was righteous stare but was really just a childish glare. What about me? Vivi pointed out. Monoma scoffed. My dearest Vivi, you, Ubiquitous, Nimona, and Yurashi have my utmost respect for managing to be the members of our esteemed 1B to make it through, but I still cannot let this travesty stand. Those are some pretty big claims, Monoma. Do you have any proof to back it up? Midnight questioned with a curious look. That green-haired ape broke pretty much every rule of the game with that cowardly move to take away our quirks. And even though Vivi and her team managed to escape, most of the others who avoided it were from Class 1A. Clearly, those arrogant curs were in on it. Is he hearing himself? Nimona asked in a bored tone to Anasa, who shook his head. I doubt it. Monoma believes his words hold hot-blooded righteousness, but in reality, those are just the kind of words the type of person I despise the most would say. And that's another thing. Why is Midoriya able to use multiple powers when the rest of us have only one? Another sign of favoritism, no doubt, Monoma continued. So to make a long story short, Midoriya and his team should be punished for thinking they can just break all the rules while making their class look good and putting the rest of us in the dirt. You sure about that? Are you 100% positive that anyone here besides my team agrees? Izuku asked with a raised eyebrow after a brief silence. Yes, that's what I'm saying, you moron. What's your point? Monoma demanded. Well then, how about a bet? Izuku asked with Monoma raising an eyebrow, wondering why it was taking so long for Izuku to be thrown out. What kind of bet? Let's let our fellow students decide if they think I cheated. In a second, everyone aside from you, me, and my team will be asked to raise their hands if they think I cheated. Monoma laughed. So planning on buying your way out? Figured you could use your class to get out of this to get the majority on your side. Even try and seduce my own faithful classmates? No, but let me finish. If just one of our classmates raises their hand, then I'll drop out without any complaint, Izuku said. Monoma scowled. You really are a moron. Do you see how many students are here? All it takes is just one hand, you're finished. If Deku is doing this, then so am I, Ochako said bravely. Ditto. I ain't letting this blonde dick slice diss Mr. 10 mil. May added. You got that right. This wannabe handsome dude thinks he can just accuse Sugar Bear of cheating? Well, then we're all gonna go down with the ship. Ellie smirked. So you 1A urchins grew a conscience, huh? Trying to seek redemption for your crimes. Monoma scoffed. Well, I ain't part of class 1A, but I'm sticking with these guys. May shot back. We were all in on the plan, so we're with him. Well, if that is what you want, then let's count down, Midnight said, raising her whip in the air. 3, 2, 1, go. You lose. Monoma called out triumphantly before turning around and seeing how many wised up and raised their hands, only to be met with a wall of sub-zero glares, not a single hand in the air. What are you all doing? Didn't you hear a word I said? Itsuka glared at him with her arms crossed. Did you honestly think we were going to go along with this plan of yours? The whole holding back in round 1 plan was already bullcrap, but there's no way I'm helping you kick out innocent competitors just because you can't beat them. Midoriya's strategy was completely fair, and for you to take away his well-earned victory is horribly unheroic and childish, Tenya exclaimed proudly, with the rest of Class 1A shouting out their own agreements. Monoma turned desperately to Hitoshi, moving over and putting his hands on his shoulders. Shinso, you want to get into the hero course, don't you? I know how truly amazing your quirk is. This is your chance to finally get in the spotlight. Hitoshi raised his eyebrow. News flash, I'm not taking a shortcut like that. That's the worst way to do it. There you have it. Team Midoriya passes on to round 3, Midnight exclaimed to the cheering audience, who grew more impressed with the students because they didn't take the easy way out. But, Monoma tried to splutter out, only for a bellowing laugh to echo through the stadium. Grrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrr Midoriya. The speaker was a giant of a man, easily up to Mount Lady's waist in her giant form. He was muscular as a bodybuilder with a crescent moon mustache and a bandana over his head, wearing a regal jacket as a cape and with a bacento at his side as he started to finish the gourd of sake he'd purchased earlier. His name was Edward Newgate. Like Roger and Rayleigh, he was a former criminal turned beloved hero, one of the few not bound by a country's borders, in fact. And like many heroes, he had another name. Holy shit! Mike screamed. It's mother-licking Whitebeard. Everyone froze in shock and many cowered in their seats, then recalled the man's good mood. Listen here, punk, Whitebeard said, singling out Monoma. I can already tell your story, easy in most parts of life but mocked for something out of your control. So, you decide to prove all your naysayers wrong. I know that cause that was me when I was half your age, only difference is that I'm not ashamed to face those stronger me. Monoma sputtered and gaped, but Whitebeard continued. You strut like a peacock but flee like a chicken when things don't go your way. You're lazy and don't want to actually work hard, just prove your existence is meaningful. No one with that mindset ever amounts to anything, no matter their quirk. And for your information? The aged pirate smirked, looking up as if to mock the HPSC with what he was about to say. Elsewhere. From their seats, the elders cringed their teeth and clenched their hands, powerless to stop what was coming next. Back to the stadium. That boy is practically quirkless. All those powers you see? They came from something Goldie Roger, the last number one before All Might, kept hidden until the right time, and I have to say, from what I see and have heard about his classmates, Roger would be proud. Whitebeard's smile then turned upside down. But then, idiots like you, with more power and money and brains, decide to limit, control that potential, because it scares them, as well it should. The world is stagnating, but reaching towards change, and that boy? His classmates and any who follow and support them? They'll change the world. And when they do, I hope I'm there to see it. He then rose up, took a deep breath and declared, "From this day forward, that boy and all WHO follow and support him? They are welcomed as my trusted allies and honorary children." In the VIP room, most of Izuku's crew was, understandably, freaking the F out. "Oh my god, he is so goddamn cool." Ben screamed, Penny cheering and hugging as he said this. "I know. He totally is," Makoto cried. "We got freaking Whitebeard in our corner." Rosa cheered. "This is the greatest day of my existence." Milo cheered. "Newgate-sensei." Toshinori smiled, some fond memories going through his head at the sight of the old man. "It's good to see you again, old friend." "You know him, All Might?" Lilik and Penny asked in surprise. "Indeed." Toshinori explained. "After studying in the USA, I ended up taking a ship home which was attacked by pirates." Marco and the Seraphim couldn't help but see similarities between Izuku and Toshinori, and smiled as the story went on. "Whitebeard was passing by and gave me a hand, then he gave me a crash course in hockey and some of what my predecessor, Roger, knew and did for the world. He even invited me to join his crew, and I will not lie, I was tempted, but I had a country to defend and a world to change." All Might then recalled him and Newgate sharing a cup of sake together, alongside the top sidekicks of the Whitebeard fleet, and a little boy with freckles and a cowboy hat. "The world truly is changing, it seems, and I'm glad to see him be a part of your story, my students." As Monoma fell to his knees in despair and disbelief, he didn't notice Vlad King shaking his head in pure disappointment. "I can't believe he managed to pass the entrance exam. We should consider altering it for next year to filter out anyone who would look down on others or hold a long-time grudge for perceived insults. Recommended students do have to go through an interview. Perhaps we should make that mandatory for the normal entrance exam as well." Snipe noted. "That whole rivalry thing you were setting up seems to have bitten you on the butt," Sekjiro, 13 said. Vlad King sighed. "I had hoped to promote a healthy rivalry between the two classes, but I fear Monoma has taken the wrong lesson from it. Still, that Shinso boy from General Ed." Nidzu noted, rubbing his chin. "He had a true sportsman's spirit to him and refused to take the easy way out. I've looked him up in the registry. Something tells me that if Shinso proves himself in the third round, we might have to discuss a change in the class roster." Vlad King nodded. Monoma suddenly felt his already worsening mood sink even further, as if he felt someone had just stepped on his grave, did a jig on it, and then defaced it for good measure before pissing all over the tombstone. Chapter 18. Izuku had gone to rejoin his friends in the VIP room as they watched the redo of the cavalry battle. It couldn't have been more different from last time, as the teams were fighting like demons, holding nothing back in this chance to prove themselves. Monoma was thrown out by his team and couldn't find anybody else to form a team with him, leaving him automatically disqualified from the running in the process. It was truly delicious to see the blonde copycat writhe in despair, knowing he had nobody to blame but himself. Shoto was able to steal enough headbands to get to third place thanks to Chuchu using her quirk and support items to assist, while Denki, with his improved quirk, thanks to Ben, was able to provide some decent covering fire, and Tenya's speed also proved helpful in that regard. It was an intense game and it felt a lot longer than it was, but eventually, time was up. Now that was a game. From a chaotic massacre to an intense battle for survival, this was one hell of a show. Present Mike cheered, getting the crowd to cheer in excitement. "Now it's time for a lunch break, everyone. Meet back here in 1 hour." Everyone left for their own activities. It was only after leaving the arena. Ochako asked where Izuku had gone and was pointed to the VIP room, but found that most of the crew was missing. "Oh, hey Uraka." Himiko beamed as she came over and glomped the girl. Izuku and some of the others went to grab a bite to eat. "You want to join us?" Sure enough, the rest of Izuku's crew returned with food. But Izuku was strangely absent. "Wait, where's Deku?" "So you brought me here, now what?" Izuku questioned Shoto, who remained silent. After a while, Shoto still hadn't said anything and Izuku was getting more than a little annoyed. "Come on, you dragged me all the way out here, meaning you've obviously got something to say, so spit it out or I'm leaving." After another few seconds of silence, Izuku had enough and turned to leave when Shoto finally spoke up. "You completely overwhelmed me in the first round of the cavalry battle. Had I still been able to use my quirk, I would have broken a promise I made to myself years ago. His fire. Izuku noted as his eyes gazed on Shoto's left side. The sheer power and charisma you exuded reminded me of All Might's power. The way you fight with some of your powers is similar to him, and there are times when the two of you go off alone and talk. So there's obviously some connection between the two of you, Shoto stated. There's no way Todoroki knows the truth. If so, he would have talked with Hilda-chan. Izuku thought. Shoto narrowed his eyes. Midoriya, tell me the truth, are you really All Might's secret love child or something? As for Izuku himself, his mind just shut down. Sure, he could see where he was coming from with everything Shoto just said, but it was still utterly ridiculous. After taking some time to process all this, the green-haired lad shook his head. Wah, what? Why would? Of course not, don't be ridiculous. We look nothing alike. If anything, he's mentoring me and my friends because we were lost at sea for 10 years and... Shoto didn't look convinced but continued on. My father is Endeavor, you must have heard of him, so you know he's the number 2 pro hero. So if you're connected to the number 1 pro hero, All Might, in some way, that means I have even more reason to beat you. Really? What are you trying to prove exactly? Izuku asked. My old man is ambitious, he aims for the top, Shoto continued. He used his power to make a name for himself but was never able to claim the number 1 spot. So the symbol of peace is proof of his failure. He's still at it though, trying to take down All Might one way or another. Izuku raised his eyebrow at all of this. Why are you telling me this then? What are you getting at? Shoto remained silent for a minute before speaking again. Have you heard of quirk marriages? Izuku bit his lip. Even out at sea and living on Sabaody Archipelago didn't mean he wasn't uninformed on the going-ons of hero society. Quirk marriages were a problem that sprung up when quirks first appeared. People would seek out powerful mates in hopes of having powerful children. It was simply viewed as old-fashioned arranged marriages, but it was still frowned upon in a lot of places. My father not only has a rich hero history but also plenty of money to throw at his problems. He bought my mother's relatives to get his hands on her quirk, and now he's raising me to usurp All Might. Shoto revealed, growing angrier with each word. It's so annoying, I refuse to be a tool for that scumbag. In my last few memories of my mother, I only remember a look of fear and sadness on her face. I remember her flinching every time she looked at my left side before snapping one night and pouring boiling water down my face. Izuku's eyes widened in shock upon hearing that. He couldn't bear the thought of his mother doing that to him, or dare he say Kamiko. I picked a fight with you because I wanted to show him what I can do without using his damn fire quirk. You see, I'm going to show him I don't need him or his damn fire, and that I reject his power. That I can win with just my mother's ice. Shoto finished. I will win this tournament with just my mother's ice. I'll prove I don't need my father's fire. Even against you, Midoriya. As Shoto left, Izuku turned the corner to see Katsuki hiding there, having heard everything. Ben was also present, a frown on his face. His father's fire and his mother's ice, huh? What a moron. Welcome back, sports fans, it's almost time for our last round. But before that, good news to everyone who didn't make the finals. We've prepared some amazing side games everyone can compete in. We've even got some American cheerleaders to get everyone fired up. Present Mike was back in the commentator box with Aizawa. It was then that both noticed something, Aizawa letting out a sigh at what he saw, the girls of both Class 1A and 1B all in cheerleader outfits. Looks like Class 1A has gone full-on fan service. I can't believe Mineta, Kaminari, and Subaraba convinced us to do this. Momo groaned out. Well, they were very convincing. Setsuna shrugged. Come on, just roll with it, Toru said, getting into the swing of things. Yeah. Fun time. Pony Tsunotori cheered in agreement. Hey, you girls look great regardless. Denki called out. Kyoka flushed and looked away, throwing her pom-poms to the ground while muttering jerk. To herself. Mina and Kanoko giggled at her reaction while Ibara had fallen to her knees and was praying for salvation with tears in her eyes. Have fun competing in those side games, everyone. After they're over, we've got a special surprise for the final round of the sports festival. Present Mike told the cheering audience. Wait, is there always a tournament? Sero asked. Pretty much. Rin Hiryu shrugged. After the side games were finished, it was time for the final round to begin, but Midnight was ready to hype up the crowd for the big surprise. Alright, ladies and gentlemen. It's time for the final tournament. But this time, we have a special treat for you all. You see, our esteemed principal was able to pull some strings, and it's only fair that we allow the big heroes who helped Class 1A in their harrowing battle against villains at the USJ to have a chance to shine. Like a major league game, Izuku's crew all stepped out into the stadium, each of them taking turns going up as Present Mike excitedly did color commentary. First, we have the devil who has shown his power in the first 2 rounds. The leader of this merry crew, the pirate captain. Izuku Devil Fruit Midoriya. Izuku smiled as he put a hand to his straw hat and nodded as the crowd cheered, excited to see him show more of his powers. Next, he's the explosive Pomeranian with a talent for cooking that would make Gordon Ramsay shed a tear. Katsuki Dynamite Cook Bakugo. Katsuki smirked as he soaked up the cheers, already having a feeling that his parents back home were freaking out. After that, she's cute, she's cuddly, she's deadly. Watch out for those blades or you'll be slashed to ribbons. It's Himiko Triple Sword Dracule. Himiko giggled at the cheers, even blowing a few kisses here and there. He's a mean blue and yellow mother from outer space. He can bend the elements to his will. It's Marco Scarab Lord Nui. Scarab Lord? Seriously? Marco asked Click, who just chirped in a way that said I dunno, man. She may look round as a ball but underneath, it's muscle, y'all. Give it up for Hilda Borhide Tuko Toya. Hey, I like that, Hilda smirked, patting her belly a few times thoughtfully. He can bend quirks to his whims. Be on his good side and he might give you an upgrade. Here's Benio Twilight Tor Kuroshi. That's my baby. Midnight cheered loudly in particular, much to Ben's embarrassment. Ma. She's cute and quirky but she's packing some serious heat. It's Penny Mega Buster Polendina. Salutations. Penny smiled, giving a wave and a salute. I am combat ready. She's a super tough pink puff. She can chew you up and spit you out. It's Kirby of the Stars Sakurai. Hoyo. Kirby chirped happily, giving double peace signs. Wish me luck, everybody. She's a regal lady who can cast literal magic. Give it up for Bakara Dofus Glyph Jurgen. Really? Bakara sighed. That's the best moniker he can give me? She's princess of the Zora clan. A fishman with plenty of power in spite of her benevolent appearance. It's Mifa the Zora Wellspring. Mifa giggled, shyly waving to the cheering crowds as he did so. She's got enough firepower to take on several armies by herself. She's the ultimate soldier, Mukuro Armory Ikusaba. Mukuro kept a straight face as the crowd cheered for her, simply making her way through without so much as a change in expression. She may look shy, but back her into a corner and she'll show her fangs. It's Kobeni Street Rat Higashiyama. Kobeni did her best to hide her face from the crowds, her entire body quivering in anxiety. These next 7 are a real treat. Dr. Vegapunk's Pride and Joy. The 7 deadly sins used for good. The Seraphim, Makoto, Yato, Chikara, Kohaku, Sumiko, Shun, and Kazuya. The Seraphs all went together as the crowds went wild. They could already guess that their creator/grandfather was cheering them on. She's built like a Borg but she's got the moves to show off her stuff. It's Rebecca Overkill. Overkill. Hey, baller. Rebecca smirked upon hearing that. They come from the spirit realm to commune with the living and enjoy all of life's earthly pleasures. This here is Milo Reaper Belladonna. And we're trending, Milo said, recording themselves walking through as the crowds cheered. The niece of the legendary leopard skin hero, Rob Lucy, make way for this cool cat. It's Nia Panthera Hanakoma. That's the best you got, eh? Nia scoffed. She's made like a marshmallow but underneath that big snuggly belly hides a steel hide. It's Rosa absorbing Gal Mayhay. Aw, come on, you're making me blush, Rosa giggled, her chubby cheeks glowing. Finally. A sweetheart who's quite good with a staff and can bend the weather, it's Lilik Kadoka Lipati the Storm Princess. That seems a little extreme. Lilik awkwardly noted. After all the action you've already witnessed, it's time for the real battles to begin. These 24 warriors are going to pick their opponents from any of the students present and that will be their matchups. Present Mike said. I choose Kobe, Izuku said, the pink-haired boy smiling and stepping forward as Garp grinned from the stands. Oi! Son of Kaido. Show me just how powerful you really are. Katsuki called out, Yamato grinning fairly in response as he stepped up. Ochako-chan. Let's you and me fight. Himiko excitedly waved Ochako over, the brunette looking more than a little awkward. Hey, Yurashi, right? I'd like to fight you, Marco said to Inasa, who grinned and bowed his head so low, it hit the ground and made a small crater.
I got a feeling about you, Hilda said, blushing slightly at the smirk the tea-green-haired boy gave her.
Shoto, Ben said coldly and to the point. If you really want to fight Izuku, then you need to go through me first. I wish to do battle with Surya Ubiquitous. Penny beamed. I believe our skill sets complement each other. I'll go with Tsuyu, if that's okay, Kirby said, the frog-like girl croaking in response. Momo, I believe you are the best opponent I could ask for. Bakara smiled at her childhood friend. If you wouldn't mind, I shall choose Nimona as my opponent, Mifa said. Kaminari, Mukuro said, causing Denki to gulp nervously. You Mineta? Kobeni squeaked out nervously. I'll fight Kirishima. He definitely looks like a man worth duking it out with. Makoto grinned, Jiru returning it with vigor. Why not Ida? Wanna see if I can give a guy of his speed the slip? Yato smirked, making Tenya frown slightly. I'll go with Tokoyami and Dark Shadow, if that's alright. Chikara shrugged, Fumikage nodding. Hatoshi-kun, Kohaku said, the indigo-haired General Ed student arching his eyebrow curiously. Shiozaki, I believe you'd be a fun opponent. Sumiko smirked, Ibara clasping her hands in prayer. Hatsune. I got a good feeling about her, Shun said as Mei beamed, an idea already forming in her head. Monoma Nato, Kazuya said. He insulted my captain's pride. I shall take it upon myself to show him his folly. Oh, you're giving me a chance to show you all up? Monoma smirked, not realizing the pitying stares Izuku's crew were giving him. Yo, fat ass. You and me. Rebecca called out to Ellie, who simply laughed. Right back at ya, short stack. I do believe Aoyama will fit my repertoire, Milo said, Yuuga beaming and striking a flamboyant pose. Oi! Vivi, how about it? The cat versus the desert princess? Nia called out, Vivi smiling and nodding in response. Shoji-kun. Rosa beamed, waving the multi-armed boy over. Let's you and me fight. I want to face Choo-Choo, I just feel comfortable facing her since we know each other best. Lilik smiled. Just know I won't go easy on you, Lilik. Choo-Choo warned. Up at the stands, Garp was laughing his head off while Endeavor kept an eye on Ben in particular with a calculating gaze. The flame hero didn't know why, but he could tell that Ben was not someone to be taken lightly. Shoto, I pray that you manage to pull through. Your ice can only get you so far. Alright, let's spin that wheel and see which match is going on first, Midnight said, spinning the wheel as everyone watched with anticipation. Chapter 19. Our first matchup will be Sumiko Vegapunk vs Ibara Shiozaki. Alright, this ought to be fun, Sumiko smirked as she sauntered to the arena. Alright, this is bound to be a treat, people. Present Mike announced. First, she's the Archmage with 1,000 magic spells at her disposal. It's Sumiko Vegapunk. And her chosen opponent, the Rose with the sharpest thorns, the assassin of Class 1B, Ibara Shiozaki. Suddenly Ibara spoke up. Excuse me, pardon the interruption. I'm questioning why you referred to me as an assassin. I came to this festival to prove my valor as a hero. Right, I'm sorry. Gentlemen, I had no wicked or sinister reasons when I entered UA. I entered this school to help bring salvation to others. It's my deepest wish that I can bring joy to this world, Ibara said as she brought her hands together as if in prayer. I said I was sorry. Aizawa just smirked at his best friend's humiliation. A part of him honestly wished that Ibara had been in his class. You're definitely a saintly girl, I'll give you that. Sumiko complimented. Something tells me you'll make it far as a hero. I appreciate your generous words. And may I say that despite being classified as the sin of gluttony, you do not appear sinful, aside from your attire. Well, let's get a little wrath going on then, Sumiko smirked. No hard feelings? Ibara smiled. Of course not. This is a contest of combat. Injuries are to be expected. As soon as the match began, Sumiko pointed a finger forward as electricity built up at the tip. Shock stinger. Ibara quickly stretched out the vines that composed her hair to form a shield to block the stinger-shaped lightning bolt fired at her. However, Sumiko swiftly used Saru to move behind Ibara and deliver a spinning kick to her side, knocking the girl over. Ibara grunted as she sent several more of her vines to entangle around Sumiko's still outstretched leg and pull her to the ground. However, Sumiko took a small orb and flicked it underneath Ibara. As soon as the orb shattered, a giant water dragon erupted and lifted Ibara into the air, dragging Sumiko along as well. The Seraph of Gluttony then commanded the dragon to push Ibara out of bounds while making sure not to cause serious injury upon impact. Shiozaki is out of bounds. Sumiko wins. Midnight announced to the crowd, who cheered. I hope you're not too hurt, Sumiko asked Ibara as she floated down with air walk before moving to make sure the vine-haired girl was okay. I am fine, thank you. It was an excellent match and I wish you and everyone luck in this competition, Ibara said truthfully with her hands once again clasped together. You're too good for this world. Man, Sumi-chan just kicked butt, Izuku said as Kazuya nodded proudly. Her vast array of spells kept her ahead of Shiozaki's onslaught of vines. Alright, let's move on to the next match. Midnight announced as the wheel spun again, landing on Kobeni vs Minoru. And there you have it. For the second battle, it's the short grape man with the sticky quirk, Minoru Mineta. And his opponent, the bundle of nerves with a green thumb, Kobeni Higashiyama. Present Mike declared. Okay, Kobeni has those weird plant pellets and her slingshot. Better be careful. Minoru thought to himself. Kobeni was shaking nervously before swallowing her fear as she saw her friends cheering her on. Somehow, it managed to quell her anxiety just a tad. Taking out her slingshot as well as holstering a pouch full of pop greens, she got ready to battle. Are you ready for another match? Present Mike questioned and the crowd cheered loudly for the next match. Begin. Midnight cracked her whip and the match began. Take this. Minoru immediately started tossing his hairballs at Kobeni. Surprisingly, the nervous wreck of a girl managed to move at surprisingly fast speeds. Sweat was pouring down her face as she took a pop green and aimed with her slingshot before firing. Minoru couldn't tell what would come, so he braced himself as the pop green landed in front of him and suddenly small plant humanoids popped out and began to attack him. Green Star, Humandrake. Minoru panicked as he tried to pull the Humandrakes off of him. As soon as he got the last one off, he saw Kobeni rushing forward and swinging the blunt end of her slingshot like she was using a knife. Hey, whoa. Take it easy. He yelped, dodging as he quickly threw more hairballs. Kobeni dodged but Minoru kept up the assault, even as his scalp began bleeding. If he just covered the entire ring then Kobeni wouldn't have anywhere left to escape. Despite being boxed in by the many sticky hairballs, Kobeni steeled her nerves as best she could and fired another pop green. This time, it popped to reveal several pine cones, much to Minoru's confusion. Wait, pine cones? What do those? Green Star, exploding pine cones. The pine cones all glowed brightly and before Minoru knew it, they exploded with the force of grenades, sending him rocketing out of the stadium, a comical smoke trail behind him as he had planted into the ground and was stuck like a vegetable in the dirt. Holy crap, Denki exclaimed from his seat. Minoru Mineta is out of bounds, Kobeni Higashiyama wins. Midnight announced as Kobeni fell on her butt, staring straight ahead while taking several deep breaths. Let's get the arena cleaned up and move on to the next match. After cleaning up Minoru's hairballs off the arena, the next match was the one between Mukuro and Denki. She's the ultimate soldier, a warrior with unmatched skill who has never suffered a single injury in battle. It's Mukuro Ikusaba. Present Mike hyped up. And her opponent, he was a stun gun but now he's been upgraded into a full-on electric power battery. It's Denki Kaminari. I'm not a fan of hitting girls, but you're not exactly a normal girl, aren't ya? Denki said as Mukuro nodded and formed a pair of Eskrima sticks from flashes of light with her quirk. Show me that you deserve those upgrades Ben-kun gave you. And begin. Midnight called out. Megawatt hammer, Denki shouted, sending out a rocket of electricity but Mukuro just leapt over it. A surprising opening move, but not one I can't dodge. Denki simply smirked before surprising Mukuro by thrusting his hands out, releasing a massive burst of electrical kinetic energy. Electromagnetic shockwave. Mukuro was sent flying back, quickly flipping through the air before righting her form and landing fluidly on her feet. Without missing a beat, she once more resumed her charge at Denki and this time, he was put on the defense as she began delivering a flurry of strikes with her batons. Whoa. So rough. At least take me out to dinner first. Mukuro grunted and ducked down for a sweeping kick, knocking Denki off his feet. As he landed on his back, Mukuro was on him in an instant, aiming one of her sticks toward his face as she pinned him to the ground. Yield. Okay. Geez, whoever ends up dating you has their work cut out for them. Denki Kaminari has yielded. Mukuro Ikusaba wins. Midnight called out. There's only one man I'd ever consider dating. Mukuro simply said as she helped Denki to his feet, her eyes slowly lingering on a certain black-haired boy with glasses watching from the stands. For battle number 4, we have the Seraph of Lust, who craves knowledge over carnal desire. It's Shun Vegapunk. Present Mike announced. And his opponent, a fully equipped gadget dynamo, ready to show her stuff. Let's hear it for Mei Hatsune. Shun was decked out in various support items provided to him by Mei. The support course student had come to him and asked for their match to be a sales pitch for her inventions. Shun could see the logic in her desire and agreed to the terms. So when the match began and Shun raced forward, he was unsurprised when 2 silts erupted from Mei's backpack, while many others were. Hydraulic bracers. Mei announced. Get you out of harm's way and motion activated so you can swat villains away. With proper timing, you can also use the shock to knock out foes, too. Shun added after getting up from being swatted away. He took to the skies and fired arrows, which were also swatted away. Luckily, Makoto, Sumiko and Izuku made sure they didn't hit anyone. But wait. Mei announced. What if I lose my balance, you may ask? Well, that's what these babies are for, auto-balancers. They'll maintain balance no matter what. Within reason, Shun said, having gotten Mei and trying to punch her backpack, only to avoid another bracer, but he did manage to fire an arrow at it, forcing the others back in, with Mei landing perfectly on her feet. Shun raced to strike at her, with Mei demonstrating amazing agility and maneuverability. That's not hockey. The crew mused, Izuku's eyes going to Mei's boots and then realizing. Electromagnetic souls. Mei announced. Makes moving far easier. And finally, but certainly not least. The pink-haired inventor smirked as she pulled out a gun she aimed and fired at Shun, placing him in a net. The capture gun. It's just a net gun. Garp and Whitebeard jawed together, not impressed at first. The Navy had such. Wait a sec. Now they saw the value. Mei's was smaller but the net was even more effective than the trawls the Navy used. I'm getting too old for this. The two mused, then returned to enjoying the fight. And save so much time that would have been wasted fighting. Shun added to Mei's finishing speech. Oh, and I yield. Time out, Mei said, making the gesture as she then turned to all the support CEOs she wanted to impress. Those gadgets seem very useful for hero work. It'd be easy to market them, especially to heroes struggling against villains. A few tweaks to her creations and she could easily be the next great support inventor. Beaming, Mei skipped over to Shun and planted a big kiss on his lips. The Seraph of Lust didn't seem to react though his eyes did widen slightly in mild surprise. After breaking the kiss, Mei walked off the stadium. Well, it looks like Mei Hatsune has decided to forfeit after that expressive match, Midnight giggled. The winner is Shun Vegapunk. Damn, that girl played for keeps there. Hilda gawked, having almost choked on her bag of pretzels when she saw the kiss. I must say, this is Shun's first experience with romance. Wonder how he'll take it going forward. Chikara hummed. It's time for battle number 5. We've got the Soul Reaper of Pleasure and Good Times, Milo Belladonna. And his opponent, the dazzling living laser, Yuuga Aoyama. Forgive me, monsieur, but you can't beat my sparkle. Yuuga smirked. Milo pouted. Aoyama was it? Milo said. I don't blame you, you didn't know, but, I'd prefer if you addressed me as they, them if you please, Milo-san will do if that helps. Aoyama recalled, as did several others. Mon Dieu, he gasped. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. So sorry. Yo ho 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 oh, Milo chuckled. No worries. Always funny to see the reactions. Still, Milo-san. It is the 24th century and we are aiming to be heroes. I must do better. And you will. Milo promised. Now, let's say we go all out. With that bit cleared up, Midnight cracked the whip to start the match as Yuuga turned into pure laser energy and bolted toward Milo, who grinned and moved to meet their opponent. Gavat Bond and Avon. Milo propelled themselves forward at high speed with their cane sword pointed forward. They then coated the blade in armament hockey as it struck Yuuga and bypassed his energy form, knocking him back, but the Franco-Japanese boy quickly zipped around the arena in the form of a living laser. Despite how fast their opponent was moving, Milo kept a cool head and closed their eyes. Soon, they opened them up and spun around, holding their cane sword in a defensive motion as Yuuga struck from behind. Soul Parade. As soon as Yuuga contacted the cane, a powerful chilling mist exploded out and engulfed him, completely flash freezing him. Milo smirked and backed away, tapping the frozen boy to make sure he was alright. Call it, darling. Midnight nodded. Yuuga Aoyama has been immobilized. Milo Belladonna is the winner. Milo then sheathed his sword and the ice shattered, freeing Yuuga as he fell to his knees and began shivering before Milo took out a blanket and wrapped it around him. You were pretty good. For battle number 6, this is a bit of a personal matchup, folks. Two childhood friends in an epic clash. The blade to banish all evil, Bakara Jurgen, and her opponent, the goddess of creation, Momo Yaoyorozu. I feel like Present Mike was making a reference to something. Bakara hummed as she and Momo stepped into the arena. Don't hold anything back, Bakara, Momo told her childhood friend. I won't. As soon as the match started, Bakara lunged forward, forming a glyph that manifested a studded morning star hammer. Milyo Makur. Momo quickly created a shield to block the strike, being forced to one knee in the process. Quickly, she created a staff and swung it into Bakara's midsection, sending her flying back. Good, don't overanalyze the situation. Fight in the moment like your life depended on it. Bakara then jumped and ran across the air using glyphs as footholds before getting behind Momo and forming another glyph. Mars. Momo quickly jumped out of the way as the glyph created a fiery sword that Bakara swung down. The creation girl of 1A quickly created a special sword with a freezing engine built in to lunge and begin clashing with Bakara, the cold and heat colliding together in blasts of thermal energy. It was a tense battle between them, but eventually Bakara gained the upper hand and tripped Momo, pinning her down. Yield. Momo sighed and held up her hands in defeat, nodding her head as Midnight announced the victory. Despite this, Bakara helped her friend up after dispelling her own sword. Those were some excellent sword skills. I had a good teacher. Battle number 7 has the Seraph of Wrath, Makoto Vegapunk, unleashes fury on the passionate manly fighter made of rock, Eiichiro Kirishima. Win this, AG. Mina cheered. Can't wait to see how this one goes. Begin. Midnight called out. Trillion Dark, Makoto shouted as he sent out multiple orbs of dark energy. Eiichiro quickly hardened himself and ran through the onslaught of attacks, the orbs exploding around him before he leapt and crossed his arms, ramming into Makoto and surprising the Seraph of Wrath, knocking him out of the sky as they crashed to the ground. Sorry about this, Eiichiro shouted as he moved to punch Makoto in the face and knock him out with one blow. Full counter. Eiichiro gasped as he felt the punch redirect onto himself, making him stumble off Makoto. Thank goodness he was in his hardened state, or that would have hurt a lot more. Nice try, Kirishima. But you'll have to make sure I can't see your attack if you don't want me to throw it back in your face. Makoto then dashed forward, forming a sword of darkness as Eiichiro quickly hardened himself to block the incoming attack. Divine 1000 slices. Hardening as best he could, Eiichiro tried to power through the flames, remembering the words of his idol. Anyone can be scared, it makes us human. It's moving past that fear that makes a hero. And with those words, Eiichiro decided to fully embrace Plus Ultra. Letting his quirk go nuts, the hardening boy started to actually mvo through Tay flames, no worse for wear. This shocked Makoto, who drew his sword and swung. Clung. Only to be shaken when, to his shock, Kirishima's body was now not only harder than ever, but sharp, too. Sharp and wide to repel Makoto's sword and leaving him open for a punch. Full counter. Makoto called out, hoping to buy some time, but it was for naught, as Eiichiro called out his finishing move. Red Riot Unbreakable. Red Turret. And with 2 punches, for the first time a while, Makoto of the Seraphim tasted defeat as he was thrown above the ring. Makoto Vegapunk is out of bounds. Eiichiro Kirishima wins. I did not see that coming, Makoto said as he tried to pick himself up off the ground, only to see Eiichiro offering his hand to him. Thanks, man. I think you just taught me how to accept my quirk fully. The Seraph of Wrath smiled as he accepted the hardening boy's hand, making Midnight gush at the chivalry shown. Battle number 8 is sure to be a nail-biter, folks. In this corner, we have the bombastic blaster with a fiery temper and legs to match, Katsuki Bakugo. And in the other corner, we have the son of the beast, Yamato. Katsuki grinned as he cracked his neck from side to side while Yamato placed his club on the ground by the head, his hand on the tip of the handle. Alright, I want a good clean match, you two. Try not to kill each other. Midnight advised the two. Begin. The two rushed at each other. Katsuki usually began with a large right hook, but he had learned to be less predictable after his training from Zeph. Instead, he moved for a sweeping understrike, triggering his quirk immediately. Despite the smoke cloud being made, Yamato refused to stop and swung his club with all his might. Katsuki saw this coming and swung his leg up, armament hockey coating it as he clashed with the club, a burst of Conqueror's hockey exploding from the impact. Everyone in the stadium held on to their seats from the sheer force coming from the two fighters. Katsuki and Yamato put more and more pressure on each other until finally, they were forced to knock each other away, cancelling out both their attacks. Katsuki grunted as he recovered before leaping and launching another explosion attack, but was shocked when he found himself touching ground. Kazegami, Gale Storm. Katsuki found himself hit by a gust of wind. However, he managed to stop himself from going out of bounds and kicked off the ground, running on the air using Geppo. As he moved faster and faster, his legs began heating up. Diable Jambe, Premier Hachis. Yamato was stunned as the blonde unleashed an explosive flurry of kicks with both legs, the heat he built up increasing the power. Guess I better pick up the pace. Yamato roared as he turned into his Inokami form, his strength increasing as he swung his club down. Katsuki looked up to see lightning forming in the sky. Gekigami, Thunderbolt. Katsuki leapt out of the way just in time as the thunderbolt struck the ground where he once stood. Grunting, he blasted himself forward with his explosions toward Yamato, fully intent on finishing this battle. Collier Strike. Yamato couldn't react in time as Katsuki swung his blazing leg into his neck, sending the son of Kaido flying out of the arena and crashing out of bounds. Katsuki landed on the ground not too far from him, having exhausted himself in the process. You're pretty good. Yamato chuckled as he picked himself up. So are you. You really showed me who's boss. After that action-packed battle, it's time for battle number 9. Present Mike announced. In the red corner, she's the swordswoman who can disguise herself as anyone, Himiko Dracule. And her opponent, the girl who defies gravity, Ochako Uraka. Watch me, guys. Himiko waved towards her crewmates in the stands with a bright smile on her face as she made her way to the ring. Ochako looked a bit nervous, but as soon as they both got onto the arena, she gained a serious expression on her face. Are both competitors ready? Midnight questioned the two girls. Getting 2 nods in response, Midnight cracked her whip to begin the match. Begin. Ochako rushed forward with her hand ready to make contact. Himiko grinned as she backstepped and then pivoted to the left on her heel. Ochako rushed past her and Himiko landed the first blow of the match with a punch to the upper back that sent the other girl stumbling slightly. The yellow-eyed girl moved in to take advantage only to have to abort to avoid a wide swipe of Ochako's palm. Can you not try to send me into space, Ochako-chan? Toga asked with a giggle while Ochako closed the distance between them. The two danced around each other, Himiko dodging any contact with Ochako's hands to not let her quirk take effect on her. Ochako was willing to take a punch or kick here and there to try and get a hold of Himiko and use her quirk. Their back and forth drew the eyes of experienced pros who focused on hand-to-hand combat. If one was close enough, they could hear the comments of several of these pro heroes. Isn't that blonde-haired girl the adopted daughter of Dracule Hawkeye Mihawk? Why isn't she using her swords? Most likely they couldn't allow her to use swords for this. I mean, that Bakara girl got a pass because her sword was more magic if anything, and was connected to her quirk. Wait, I see wooden swords strapped to her waist. I guess it was a good idea to go for the safe approach. Sure enough, Himiko had 3 bokken strapped to her hip. Deciding to up the ante, she drew one of the bokken and swung the end into Ochako's stomach, making the brunette grunt in pain. Himiko didn't waste a single second as she drew another bokken and slammed it into Ochako's vulnerable torso. Trying to take advantage of their positions, Ochako attempted to leap onto Toga, but the other girl rolled out of the way. Your quirk is pretty good, Ochako-chan. I gotta keep on my toes at all times with you. I'm not done. Ochako whirled around with both hands out, ready to double palm strike Himiko. However, that was when the blonde decided to show just what she could really do. Taking her third bokken in her fanged mouth, she crossed the ones in her hand across her chest and placed the one in her mouth horizontally behind them. Onigiri. Before Ochako could reach her, Himiko had dashed forward at high speeds and struck her with all 3 bokken, sending her flying out of bounds. Ochako Uraka is out of bounds. Himiko Dracule is the winner. Midnight made the call. Himiko immediately ran over to Ochako and helped her sit up. The brunette looked saddened by her loss. Come on, Ochako-chan, Himiko smiled at the other girl as she held out her hand. Let's head to the waiting room. I'll listen to whatever has you so sad. It's nothing, Ochako accepted her hand up and the two walked off the ring together. Then I'll listen to nothing, Himiko shrugged as she stuck by Ochako's side. You don't have to. Ochako shook her head as they walked down the corridor together. I want to, Ochako-chan, Himiko assured with a gentle smile. You're a good friend, Himi-chan. Ochako sniffled a bit as they entered the waiting room. For battle number 10, we have the Dark Horse from General Ed against the Seraph of Envy. It's Hitoshi Shinso versus Kohaku Vegapunk. So, you ready to do this thing? She questioned, hip cocked to the side. Yeah, let's. Hitoshi nodded as he looked up at her, and immediately looked away, his face turning pink. Reason why? Kohaku's jacket was unzipped slightly, pushing her cleavage up and giving her a boob window like with her costume. The purple-haired boy pointed down at his chest as if trying to tell the giantess about her said issue. Aw. Look at this, folks. Shinso's letting Kohaku know that her jacket's down. Present Mike chuckled. Oh my, how gentlemanly, Midnight giggled. Seriously? Kohaku deadpanned, a small embarrassed blush craving her cheeks. I can't help that the track jacket is smaller than I'd like. With that, the match began in earnest. Hitoshi surprised Kohaku by using Saru and Geppo to move in the air at super speeds. The Seraph of Envy stood her ground before pulling her fist back and punching down. Diamond Shield. A barrier made of diamonds with a decorative face on it erupted in front of Kohaku as Hitoshi moved in for a Shigan strike. The boy jumped back to avoid breaking his finger on the impenetrable substance before kicking off the air and landing on his feet. That's a pretty impressive quirk you got there. I'm really damn jealous. Thanks, I've trained my whole. Kohaku suddenly went rigid, her eyes a blank white as Hitoshi sighed, having caught her in his trap. Needed to get you to drop your guard for my quirk. An old friend of my parents trained me in Rakushiki. He always told me that I shouldn't just rely on my quirk unless absolutely necessary. Holy cow, how did Shinso do that? Rikido asked. I think I heard someone say his quirk is brainwashing. With it, he can mind control anybody who verbally responds to him. Izuku noted. Seriously? That in Rakushiki and he was stuck in general ed? Mina gawked. Alright, sorry about this, Kohaku. Fall asleep, Hitoshi said. With that, Kohaku was out like a light, her face plastering on her diamond shield as she drooped down slowly, her butt sticking in the air as she began snoring loudly and cutely. Kohaku Vegapunk is asleep. The winner is Hitoshi Shinso. Many of the pro heroes were noting how useful Hitoshi's quirk was. The rest of the students in general ed were cheering him on from the stands and Vlad King nodded his head, a decision already being made for after the sports festival was over. Alright, it's battle number 11 and we've got the Seraph of Pride, Kazuya Vegapunk. Present Mike announced. And his opponent, the copycat with a nasty ego, Monoma Nato. Kazuya scoffed as Monoma took the field, waving to the crowd like a rock star. For a guy who constantly admonished Class 1A for their accidental fame, he seemed pretty desperate for it himself. Good, that means he has all the more to lose. The Seraph of Pride smirked, his body currently in its normal form. So then, I finally have the chance to prove Class 1B's superiority, Monoma announced smugly. I hardly see how I could lose to one of that green-haired cheater's flunkies. Kazuya shook his head. You put on a pretty smile for the cameras but you really are hideous on the inside, aren't you? It makes sense, considering how you accused my captain of cheating when he had made a legitimate strategy, even if it was overwhelming for the opposition. Monoma scowled. Oh please, that's just something one of his pawns who kisses the ground he walks on would say. I honestly want to know why you hate everyone that isn't in your class. Kazuya calmly said. I wish to see things from your perspective but sadly, I do not have the power to bend over and put my head up my own backside. Monoma was getting angry now. How dare this skinny fool look down on him like that? I do believe I have a theory on why you're so pitiful, Kazuya said, a dark smirk growing on his face. You didn't get enough attention from Daddy, did you? Shut up. Monoma growled. Kazuya snorted. You really are an open book. Your dad wasn't a good one, was he? I bet he was never there, and when he was drunk. Monoma's entire body was shaking with anger now. Your father's such a deadbeat, he makes alcoholic stepfathers look like working class heroes. He's probably the patron saint of single mother households. Hell, he probably thinks that dine and dash is a parenting technique, Kazuya continued, his grin growing with every insult. Shut it. Monoma screeched, fists clenched at his sides. Who taught him how to handle responsibility? Peter Pan? Kazuya called back. He makes God sacrificing his only son look like time out. Shut the fuck up, Monoma yelled, his face now bright red. He probably thinks being an involved parent means taking your kids with you to the bar, Kazuya shouted back, heat beginning to rise off his body as his grin became downright vicious. Ag, Monoma roared in fury as he started to sprint forward. How many times did he say he was going to pick you up and never came? Shut the fuck. Suddenly, Monoma was hit with an oppressive wave of heat as Kazuya slowly but surely grew into his sun form, a brilliant fiery mustache forming on his face and his white hair gaining glowing tips like the surface of the sun. All of Monoma's anger disappeared and was replaced with pure, suffocating dread. Kazuya started walking towards Monoma, keeping the heat to unbearable levels as he moved closer. Monoma didn't have any choice but to move away from the blistering heat. Step by step, Kazuya forced his opponent backward and towards a ring out. Monoma tried to stand his ground against the heat, his skin was turning red when he got too close to the heat wave. You, born into wealth and wanting for little. He dared try to sully my captain's dream. Why is he leading you? You're far stronger than him. Monoma screamed, his mind genuinely trying to comprehend how that green-haired upstart had so many powerful people in his corner. Because he is my friend, Kazuya said, as if it was the clearest thing in the world. My dearest friend. And no, while I do stand above most, I still pale into Izuku in terms of kindness, a kindness that found meaning in mine and my siblings' existence as people, a kindness that only sought to help when he could rule. A kindness that this world needs, and that you, in your delusions of suffering, even if they have some small merit of truth, tried to destroy. For that cruelty and your arrogance, which unlike mine is so sorely unfounded. I will scorch this spot, divine spear. Thrusting his finger forward, Kazuya created a massive burst of heated air that sent Monoma rocketing out of bounds and crashing into the stadium wall. The blonde's eyes were rolled into the back of his head as blood escaped his mouth before crumpling to the ground in a crushed heap. You fail at being a hero, Monoma. You have shamed your entire family line with your ego. Not completely without mercy, Kazuya shrunk down to his normal self and then hoisted Monoma over his shoulder before carrying him off to the infirmary as midnight called the match, everyone still left in awe at the sheer power the Seraph of Pride had displayed. Battle number 12 is sure to be a fun one. It's the Seraph of Greed Yato Vegapunk against the latest great speedster of the Ida family, Tenya Ida. Sorry in advance, Ida, but you're toast. Yato grinned as he bounced up and down. We shall see about that, Tenya said. Recipro burst. As Tenya blasted straight toward Yato, intent on pushing him out of bounds. However, the Seraph of Greed smirked as he simply held out his hand and made a beckoning motion with it. Snatch. Tenya gasped as he felt most of his speed leave his body and saw Yato moving at the same speed he was initially going at. Before he could even react, Yato had driven his knee into his stomach, making him keel over before delivering a judo throw that slammed him into the ground before putting him in a chokehold. You've got no chance, pal. Right now, I'm sucking out your strength as well and adding it to my own. Tenya choked as he struggled but ultimately was unable to escape as he tapped his hand against the ground, yielding the match to Yato's favor. Tenya Ida has yielded. Yato Vegapunk is the victor. Tenya let out a defeated sigh before being helped up by Yato. The bespectacled boy could only kick himself for letting Yato beat him so easily. Hey, don't beat yourself up over it. You'll get fast enough to catch me off guard. The Seraph of Greed smirked. Friendly bit of advice, try adding Saru to your repertoire. It's handy. Tenya silently nodded, accepting Yato's advice as he headed to the waiting room to get some water before returning to the stands. Man, so many fun matches. Uda smiled. Shame me and Carrot didn't get picked. Well, maybe later, we could ask for a spar? Izuku suggested with a friendly smile. After all, I'd love to know more about what you can do. Aw, you're so sweet. Alright, this is sure to be an epic one, folks. Present Mike grinned. Battle number 13 is between the quirk blacksmith, Benio Torkuroshi, and the son of Endeavor, Shoto Todoroki. Shoto began to head to the halls to get ready for the match again when he noticed Endeavor was waiting for him. What the hell do you want? You saw how much power Midoriya was able to put out throughout the tournament. I can safely say that his comrades hold similar strength if they can stand alongside him. The flame hero said sternly. If you truly hope to overcome him, you can't hold yourself back. I made myself a goddamn promise, you bastard. No matter what you say, I will never give you the satisfaction of being what you want me to be. Shoto scowled. As Shoto left, Endeavor gave his son a glare before letting out a defeated sigh as he walked back to the VIP stands. The flame hero had a very bad feeling about how this match was going to go. Ben had already arrived at the arena, his face one of stone-cold stoicism. He saw Shoto step onto the arena, a pissed-off expression on his face as he noticed the look in Ben's eyes. You look like you have something to say. Just that you shouldn't act like a dumbass and restrict yourself to just your ice. If you don't give it your all, you're just wasting everybody's time. This only made Shoto angrier. I already told you I never use my bastard of a father's fire. Just my mother's ice. You're pathetic. Ben coldly spat. Begin.